I called him, said, you got to get in here. Waited about 10 minutes, then my dad died. And I just lost it. I'd been talking to him the whole time, rubbing his arm, rubbing his head. And when I started crying, he came back up. His pulse was like 68. His respiration was 36. His blood pressure was 130 over 70. It was ideal numbers.
Wow.
So.
Welcome to Backpacker Radio, presented by The Trek, brought to you by Topo Athletic. I am your co-host, Zach Badger Davis, and to my right is...
Hi, I'm Juliana Chauncey, a.k.a. Chaunce.
Hey, happy birthday.
I was going to tell you that. How did you know?
3/14.
Okay, good.
Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't know if Rachel put a secret note for you.
No. Pi Day. I feel like that's a pretty easy one to remember. Yeah. Also, now this is the 8th birthday we've celebrated with you on the podcast. So
True.
I should get it down by now.
I don't know your birthday.
Do you even know the month?
No. But in honor of my birthday and Pie Day, I think you should have a piece of the pie that your mom left us.
Maybe later. It's still gross or not gross. We'll figure that out. Also, I think the more appropriate thing would be for you to have the pie.
Oh, no, I couldn't. I'm trimming for the wedding. We're shredding for the wedding, so.
I think you take a break on your birthday, though.
Oh, no.
All right. A few reminders before we get to today's interview. If you enjoyed this podcast and you would like to support your Paprika Pals and you want some episodes advertisement free, head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/backpackerradio. Like I said, we run all of these episodes without the ads through there for as little as $5 per month.
It's $1.25 a week, and on months where there's 5 Mondays, that's $1 a week. It's
$1 per episode. With inflation, it's basically like we're paying you.
Yeah, we are paying you. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, stop robbing us.
The check will come at some. It's in the mail.
I'm gonna come.
Please do not come.
Next item is we are going to be doing another live podcast in Austin, Texas. This one's going down April 17th at Soundspace at Captain Quack's. We have a super secret surprise special guest. How many alliterative S's can I get in there? Do you have any?
Yeah, so let's see. Hold on. I got to think for a second.
Don't get too close to the source because we still have another month's worth of podcasts before.
Their name starts with a letter that's in the second half of the alphabet. I just had to check which side it was on.
Yeah. And again, if someone guesses it correctly in the comments of any of the Instagram posts for this, the first person to get it right will get a sticker.
Yeah.
Hey, dog. We're actually going to start fulfilling stuff again. We had a little gap in fulfillment there for a while.
It's also in the mail.
Yeah. Part of that is because I'm in the process of moving all of the Trek's merchandise and inventory into this building here. So we've kind of been between shipping locations for a little bit. But yeah, going to get back to actually making good on stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are slowly taking over a bank.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
We're not robbing them. They're kind of robbing me, but...
We just have to figure out which wall shares the wall with the vault.
Yeah.
And then it's game over.
Apparently, if you just, tell them that you're robbing them, I think the tellers are trained to just give you the money.
Right, but they put it in the bags that release the ink,
that
don't
explode.
They? Yeah, it's like a trap.
Yeah.
And we would just walk back over here. There really wouldn't be much of a chase.
Yeah. But if things go poorly... That's plan B.
Yeah.
So, yes, get your tickets. Yep. We are very excited for our Austin podcast. And we're going to be giving away a shitload of Gossamer Gear merchandise. Obviously, Gossamer Gear based in Austin, an awesome partner of ours. They're going to be giving away basically 1,000 packs. Don't quote me on the number.
I heard that they were giving away their whole warehouse.
Yeah, I heard that too.
And we're still 2 months out as of recording this. We've already sold 25 tickets. So if you are someone who's a procrastinator, don't worry, I am too. I feel for you. But maybe this might not be the one to procrastinate.
Based on trends, it is not impossible that it sells out. So if you want to go, get your ticket. Lastly but not leastly, if you're taking on a long-distance trek in 2025 and you want to be part of an awesome team, apply to be a Trek blogger through the link in the show notes. Jess, running the ship this year as our community and marketing manager. She set up an amazing mentorship program. We've got new gear discounts with some of our favorite partnering brands. And at the end of this year, we're going to fly one lucky blogger to join us here on Backpacker Radio.
Mm-hmm.
So link to apply to be a Trek blogger in the show notes. And It is the best. Okay, let's get right to our interview with Curtis Himstedt.
That's correct.
Yeah, let's fucking go. AKA Easily Forgotten. Curtis has extensive hiking experience, including hikes in the U.S., like the AT, PCT Long Trail, and Wonderland Trail, as well as plenty of international trails, such as the Annapurna Circuit, West Highland Way, Pembrokeshire Coastal Path, Tour de Mont Blanc, Cinque Terre, and several versions of the Camino. Curtis, thank you so much for joining us here on Backpacker Radio.
I'm excited to be here.
I'm grateful that Rachel didn't put any too difficult to pronounce trails in that bio there. Easily Forgotten. What is the origin story of that trail name?
I'll give you the short, sad version and then fill in more details. I've been divorced twice. My first wife, after we got divorced, a few months later, I ran into her going into a health club. She was coming out, and she walked right by me and didn't recognize me.
So you told that story to someone, and then they gave you the trail name?
My second wife said, "Wow, you're pretty easily forgotten." In fairness, once I did talk to her, and she goes, "Oh my God, I didn't recognize you. I'd lost like 40 or 50 pounds," and she was with her new boyfriend.
So she was just pretending like she didn't see you. Well, I mean, that's
I think she didn't see me.
Yeah, that's a really good reason to not be noticed, is losing a bunch of weight.
Yeah, so it wasn't bad.
Yeah. Let's start there. What weight did you peak out at?
I was up pretty close to 300 pounds at one
300
point.
pounds.
Yeah.
And you're a taller gentleman.
I'm 6'1".
Yeah.
I got as low as 165 pounds after all that. When I saw her, I was heavier than what I am now.
Yeah.
I'm about 215 right now. I've put on a lot of weight since the trail.
Yeah.
I put on my trail pants today, and I noticed they're pretty snug on me, where before I needed, just 3 months ago, I needed a belt to hold them up or tie them on so they keep from falling.
That's crazy. You lost effectively half of your body weight at one point.
I probably lost a chance.
We should measure body weight in chances. So I'm curious to know, what was the story behind the weight loss? Was this...
Well, when you weigh 170 or 270 pounds or 280 pounds, get divorced, and you ever want to see a naked woman again, you're going to have to do something.
So you were inspired in your second chapter there. So not necessarily related to thru-hiking per se.
Oh, no. This was long before I took up hiking. Actually, when I lost the weight is when I did the Annapurna Circuit. That was the first really decent hike that I did.
Yeah.
Did that back in 2009.
Okay. And you said divorced twice.
Yeah, I got divorced in 22, which is part of the, 23, part of the reason for me going out on the trail this time, doing the long hike.
Yeah. Got the flexibility to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
There you go. So what is the origin story about you getting into long-distance backpacking?
I didn't like working in the corporate world. I could tell I was basically killing myself. I was putting in long hours, eating like crap, not exercising. I was putting in 60-hour weeks as an engineer, and I was not happy, was not satisfied with it. So when I got divorced the first time, I decided I wanted to do something different. So I lost the weight and took up hiking.
And what was the first trail?
The Annapurna Circuit.
Annapurna Circuit, right. Right.
How'd you pick that one?
Okay, do you know Isle Royale in Lake Superior? It's a national park. It's probably the least visited national park. Right after I got divorced, a friend of mine took me up. This is when I was still incredibly fat and couldn't walk. And we were out on the island hiking, and we ran into somebody that just got back from Annapurna. And he gave me a contact, and I was like, wow, if I lose the weight, I'm going to do that. So I lost the weight and rewarded myself with the trip.
Yeah. Were you considering starting backpacking domestically, start with something simple and then work your way up? Because I feel like it's rare for somebody in the United States to have their first long distance trek, not only abroad, but like abroad.
I was in Boy Scouts, and I went to Philmont a couple of times when I was younger. I worked on camp staff, so I was outside all the time. So I knew I could backpack. Like I said, he took me to Isle Royale, and then we also went out to Washington for 2 weeks, and we did the 3 national parks out there, just a couple of, like an overnight in each park. And it gave me the incentive to lose the weight and get going again.
Yeah.
How old were you when you did Boy Scouts?
Oh, gosh. I got my Eagle at like 13. I was in there from 12 to 17, 12 to 19, somewhere like that.
What, like year range-ish, roughly?
75 to 83, somewhere around there.
What was it like back then? Like being in Boy Scouts back then, what was the experience like?
It wasn't co-ed.
I tried to join Boy Scouts in the early 2000s because in Girl Scouts, they just had us like in the basement of the school cooking and like making pudding, and that was really boring.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let me join Boy Scouts.
Well, you could have joined Explorers back then. I don't know if that was even starting out.
I just wanted to make the bow saws.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, go make pudding. But yeah, what was it like back in the 70s?
It was fun. I was a little nerd, so I mean, it was a good fit for me. And then I got on camp staff and got to know people from all over the council, and that became my friend group. I didn't hang around with friends from school. I hung around with other Boy Scouts. Like all my friends were like Eagle Scouts. We were all a bunch of nerds, but
building bridges.
Yeah.
What was your Eagle Scout project?
It was an unusual one because my parents did volunteer work for the Veterans Administration, and they would do an annual Christmas party at a veterans home. So I took the idea and got a nursing home close to my house, and contacted, got a bunch of entertainment, got kids in the troop to make prizes. You know, we did ceramic vases with flowers, and it was just a one-day party. But it was my troop ran it, I supervised it, and we had entertainment and prizes for the elderly.
Huh. I didn't know you could do projects that weren't like building stairs or, again, bridges.
Well, they just want to see project management experience.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So how long were you an engineer at the point that you had hiked the Annapurna Circuit or started it?
I worked another 10 years after Annapurna, but I'd been an engineer for about 20 years.
Okay. So the catalyst to this was more so the divorce as opposed to like just being burnt out?
Yeah, you'll see a theme here. Divorce has played a fair amount on my decision making.
I guess that leads me to my question is there a part of you that's grateful to the separation, inspiring you to find this new way of life?
Yeah, I guess so. Actually, my second divorce and this hike that I just did, with the exception of the Annapurna Circuit, I've never hiked alone. I've always been with a group or my wife. My second wife and I hiked 7,000 miles together. We did both the AT and the PCT together. So this time was a good experience for me to know that I could do it by myself. And now I found I enjoy hiking by myself much better than hiking with anyone else.
I feel like that happens to people once they've gotten like their first long trail done, and like the scary part of what's it going to be like if I don't have someone who's gone, because then you can really make your own schedule and not have to rely on someone else.
And I have a tendency, even when we had a nice tramily and when we did the AT, but I always felt responsible for everybody else, even though I was the one that was probably going to be left behind, being easily forgotten. But I always felt like a Australian shepherd rounding everybody up, to make sure that we were in agreement where we were going to meet, so there were no problems, nobody get lost.
Huh. Is that a natural character trait of yours, or does this just come out on trail?
I guess it comes out on trail. It may have been from my work as an engineer, making sure that I didn't have any loose details, loose ends any place.
So speaking of which, okay, so we're on the Annapurna Circuit, your first long distance trek. I feel like most people with their first long distance trek, there's always some learning lessons and hiccups along the way. But I feel like somebody who's more engineering minded might not be prone to those mistakes. Which way did that fall on this first hike?
This was a cushy hike, actually. It was a tea house trek, so there was no camping or anything. And I went through an agency, so I had a guide, and we had porters. I would just carry a light day pack. And we'd stay. We could get showers every night. We had food cooked for us. So it was a really cushy trip. Altogether, I spent 5 weeks in Asia. I did 3 weeks on that trip. around Annapurna, and then I went to Bhutan for a week, and then back into Kathmandu and area around there for another week before I came back. So it was a bougie trip.
Yeah. And I know we've talked about the Annapurna, but it's been a long time. Can you give us just a quick overview on what that hike is?
I wanted to go to Nepal. It was either the Annapurna Circuit or Everest Base Camp. So Everest Base Camp is in my future, but I chose Annapurna because you go higher than Everest Base Camp. Everest Base Camp is at 17.3. The Thralong Pass goes up to 17.7, almost 17.8. And it's just a 3-week loop. I mean, you only do 10, 12 miles a day. You try to go up 500 feet higher. Then you're going to spend the night. So you do little hikes at the end and then come back down and sleep for the night. And I just wanted to see how my body would react to elevation.
How'd it do?
At 16.5, I had trouble sleeping. I should have started taking Diamox at about 10 or 11, and I was trying to see if I could go the whole way without taking Diamox. So by the time I got up to 16.5, I couldn't really sleep at night. I would like gasp myself awake, and so on now I'll know if I go back, I'll start taking it at 11.
Yeah. Did you have any other symptoms other than not sleeping, gasping at night?
Oh, a terrible headache. And just shortness of breath, but I mean, nothing bad. I mean, it was not bad enough where we had to rush me down to lower elevations or anything like that. It was just uncomfortable.
Yeah. And we'll get into it here because your list of trails is bananas. But how does this compare to other trails that you've done? Is this something that you'd recommend to a friend who's looking to hike internationally?
Yeah, easy trails for starting out. I mean, I wouldn't say this is easy because of the elevation, but it's easy because you're not carrying a lot. And now, if you go into Nepal, they require you to go through a guide company. So I have the friend that owns the company now, so I've got a couple of treks that I want to do. But I'd put that on par with the Caminos because you're not having to camp, you don't have to cook. The tea houses are basically little restaurants, and if you buy the meals there, which are about, at the time were like 500 rupees, about $4 or $5, they throw in the room as long as you get supper and breakfast from them.
That's a steal.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a little bit of a gap till the next trail. Is this you getting back into your career path?
Yeah, that I had my own company at that point, and I was just devoting a lot of effort to work. And then as I found I could make more money, I decided, I was going to do some things around. Like I started taking April and October off every year and just hanging around because I had a 70-acre farm in southern Illinois. So that'd be the only time I could really work on it then. And then I started taking every Friday off of those remaining months. Then I made it Monday optional. So I was down to basically 3 days a week working, but I was devoting a lot of effort to the company nonetheless.
Yeah. What's life like on the farm?
It was nice. I had Great Pyrenees, so I would go to my job. I would take the dogs to puppy daycare, drop them off. I'd come home. I'd do CrossFit, pick up the dogs, go home, cook supper, and then we'd go for a couple of mile walk on the property every night. And that was the routine. And we all seemed to be happy with it.
Yeah.
Sounds nice.
And were you working for yourself at the point that you had hiked the Annapurna, or did you take a leave? Did you have to quit?
No, I was working for myself.
Okay.
And at that point, I talked to the director of engineering, and that was really when I started my company. My company had just been bought out, and I said, I'm going to start my own. Would you be interested in using me? He goes, you're the only person we want from your company, so yeah, you can have all the contracts you want. So, and I said, oh, by the way, I'd like 5 weeks off. And he goes, as long as you come back, you can take the 5 weeks. So
that's good leverage to have. That's nice. Okay, so 2013 is the next hike, and it sounds like the first one where you're obviously carrying all your own gear. I'm curious from an engineer's perspective, what was the process of going through? And
was that my West Highland Way?
Yeah.
Okay, between that period, I was divorced from my first wife, and I met my second wife, and she told me she'd never been backpacking before. I would always talk about the Annapurna Circuit so much that she wouldn't allow me to talk about it anymore. But so for Christmas that year, I bought her a backpack and made plane reservations to go to Scotland, and we hiked the West Highland Way.
So I'm curious, for what gear did you have already for the Annapurna Circuit? Because I know the porters are lugging most of the stuff for you. Are you just carrying like a day pack and some snacks?
Yeah, I just carried a day pack and change of clothes, my toilet kit, snacks.
Yeah. What was the process of sorting out your full kit for the West Highland Way?
West Highland Way, surprisingly, my second wife did a lot of the research. She changed all of my systems. She didn't like the way I was doing anything, and she did a lot of the research that I should have done. But she did it and worked out, and that was the first trip I'd ever used hiking poles. I thought, I'm not going to use hiking poles. That's for old people. It's like, and we got into one section on the trail around Rob Roy's cave. It gets pretty rough around there, and I started using the poles and liked them, so I've been using them since. I did, speaking of which, I did hurt my knee a little bit on the Annapurna Circuit. When you're coming down from 17,000 back down to 3, that's a lot of downhill stress on your knees. So,
what was your big 3? Like, what kind of backpack, what kind of sleeping bag, tent?
Oh, back then, probably it was like an REI half dome T3 plus. I can't remember the pack. It was. I'm sure it was. What's the Thunderbird? Osprey pack, and just a sleeping bag. I don't even know manufacturer's sleeping bag. It was nothing special.
Okay, I don't know if the Thunderbird is Osprey. I just birds.
Yeah, that is Osprey.
They're both birds.
Yeah.
And what was the thought process for the West Highland Way? Because I feel like traditionally, again, when people are early on in their backpacking career, they're going to pick something a little bit more local, and you're still picking trails abroad.
Well, I have a cousin that lives part of the time in Scotland, and back to a side trip, side story. My sister died back in '93, and my cousin was actually with her when she died, and she's semi-estranged from her brother. So after that, she said, you've lost your sister. I don't really get along with my brother. Why don't we just consider brother and sister? So I was actually going over there to visit her and her children, which her kids call me Uncle Curtis, so that's kind of nice, So.
And I guess same question as the Annapurna Circuit. Friends wanting to know about the West Highland Way. Is this one that you'd recommend?
Oh yeah, it's a fun little. It's only 100 miles. Most of the trips in Great Britain are just like 100 miles. So you take them and enjoy them. You go through little pubs every day, and most of the hikes in Great Britain, people talk about inflation. They don't talk about the price of gasoline. They talk about the price of a pint of beer. So it makes it more relatable.
Yeah, totally.
I want to do the West Highland Way. That's on my short list for next ones. What month did you do it in?
Jeez, I don't remember. I know it only rained on us one afternoon. I think it might have been around September. It was,
okay. What direction did you go?
We went north. So we actually started in Glasgow and walked out to Mulgai, and then went all the way up. And we were going to go up Ben Nevis, but it was a crappy day on Ben Nevis, so we didn't do that. But then we caught the Harry Potter train that goes up. I can't remember the name of the town that it goes across, but the viaduct in the opening sequence where it shows the train. We took that train up, and then we caught a ferry out to the Isle of Skye and spent a few days out on the Isle of Skye.
Oh, cool. Yeah, the Isle of Skye is on my list.
Yeah,
it seems hard to get to, is what I've gathered, but that was also like around 2013 when I learned about it. So
I don't really investigate anything ahead of time. I just decide, I'm going to do that trail, and I go and figure it out. I might have a few ideas. My second wife was a little bit, she probably researched more than she let me know, because it seemed to go pretty smooth, so she must have had an idea of what was going on.
With all these trails, has it ever backfired on you to go into it without?
The only one that we got into a little bit of trouble was the Via Degli Dei in Italy. Italy doesn't allow you to camp, and I thought it'd be easy to get hotels or stuff along the way. And there was the language barrier, and we just walked out of town figuring that we would figure it out. And the first day I was with my cousin, my sister, and she had a breakdown when we couldn't find a hotel that night, and so we took a 0 day, and then we made reservations the rest of the way, but we got it all straightened out. Just a minor setback.
What was it like doing that hike with your spouse?
Which one?
The West Highland Way.
The West Highland Way? Oh, I mean, we actually got along much better on the trail than we did in town. I mean, so you say if you survive on the trail, you see each other at your worst.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that's not my worst.
Yeah. Why do you think you got along better on trail?
I think I'm more relaxed on trail. When I get in town, I get uptight. I lived in the South for a while, and there's these bars out in the country that just say bar, and you want to stop and get a beer, and you go in there, and I walk in and there's music playing. It's like you hear the needle come off the record, like whoop, everybody stops and stares at you. It's like, what do you want? It's like, I just want a beer. They throw me a beer. It's like, okay, go. I feel like that everywhere I go. I don't fit in. I feel like I'm an outsider, and so I get really uptight when I'm in new situations and around new people.
Interesting. And you feel that way regardless of like what environment you're in?
Pretty much. If I'm with a group of more than 3 or 4 people, I feel like an outsider.
All right. Well, we got the right numbers.
Yeah. How do you feel? That was my next question. How do you feel right now?
Interesting. And so the trail evaporates that feeling. I mean, obviously you're not probably most of the time not around a lot of other people, but is it just the environment of being outside that relaxes you?
Yeah, I do think being in nature helps a lot. And I don't like society. I don't like the emphasis on money, speed, efficiency. That drives me crazy all the time. That's why when FKTs, people talk about that, yeah, it's tremendous athletic ability, but it seems to me like it's not enjoying the nature. You're just out there trying to beat it. I'm just trying to coexist with it and enjoy it as much as possible.
SKTs, slowest known times.
Yeah. I've also done fattest known times.
I call them soft.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Soft, slowest fucking time.
There you go.
There you go.
Is there any element of the trail like slowing you down? Like, is there any carryover from the relaxation that you get on trail back to your off-trail life? Because I noticed that. For me, there's some lag effect of like when I get off trail, I feel more relaxed and I feel like I think more clearly.
I think now since I've decided this is what I'm going to do until I can retire, it's made me calmer, I would think, somewhat. But I'm also not married now, so I don't have that stress in there as well. But
yeah,
you have marriage, you'll soon experience. So
I know. I was biting my tongue not to ask, but as someone who's getting married in August, talking to someone who's gotten 2 divorces, what advice do you have for me?
Geez. Obviously, I'm not the person to give advice if you want to keep that marriage.
Well, maybe like what not to do or things you wish you'd done differently.
I just wish I were calmer generally.
Yeah, same.
I tend to get wound up, and I actually think I'm somewhere on the autism spectrum, where new situations, new changes throw me off. One of my hiking, part of our tramley from the AT in 2018, Bear, was an administrator at NASA, and he could read people, and he knew how to deal with me. My wife would just say, "Oh, we're going to do this." It's like, "Oh, we've already agreed to do this plan," and I freak out. And he's like, "I know, I know we're going to bed, but I was just looking at this. Think about this tonight. See, think about doing this." Where he'd already made up his mind. It was the right way to go, but he let me mull over it overnight. Then I wake up in the morning, I'd thought about it, and I could accept it more. And it's like, oh yeah, that sounds good. We can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also don't do great with change. If I think a plan's going to go a certain way, I typically like for it to go that way.
Yeah, the Adirondack Trail comes to mind.
That's why I looked at him. I was like, does this ring a bell?
There's a heavy call back there. That's surprising to me, given like how exotic and international a lot of the trails that you've picked are. I feel like all of the logistics and the details around it are more challenging and less familiar.
But you don't plan ahead. There's nothing to worry about with it if you don't plan ahead. It's the same thing you're doing here. You try to figure out where you can get food, where you can camp. The rules of camping are a little bit different. They're different everywhere. Some places in Italy you can't camp. France, you're supposedly not supposed to camp, but they turn a blind eye to it. Great Britain, it's illegal to camp in England, but you go to the information centers, it's like, well, you can't do that, but if you're going to, here's how you do it.
Yeah, I just would think like even all of the logistics of getting to the places and doing it internationally, that for me, like, that creates more stress as opposed to, like, I could pick any trail in the U.S. and feel competent and confident in knowing what I'm doing.
But see, when I went to Europe the first time, I went for 8.5 months. So, I mean, I wasn't time constrained. I'm not trying to fit it into a 2 or 3 week window. It's like, we actually ended up cutting out a couple of trails because we took more time than we'd planned. Like, I'm sorry, I'm getting off track. Do you want me to talk?
No, always. Yeah, there's no track.
Yeah.
Okay. The first time we went to Europe in 2017, we had this whole itinerary, and we ended up doing the Pembrokeshire Coastal Path in Wales, and then we did the Camino Frances, and then we did the GR10, and then we wanted to do Corsica, the GR20. Well, we took longer on the GR10 than we thought, and we did a little bit of sightseeing in Barcelona before we flew up to Switzerland to do the Tour de Mont Blanc. So, I mean, we didn't do all the trails that we'd planned, but we had 8.5 months. Then we went back to England afterwards and hiked another trail. So,
I want to talk more about, you mentioned the Pembrokeshire Coastal Path, because I loved Wales when I went. I went to, I'm going to butcher it. I apologize to any of the Welsh. Yves Llyn-Dudwyn, not pronounced right. Couldn't spell it because the spellings are so silly. But
no vowels.
Such silly spelling. But how was it? Because that place is beautiful.
I didn't know what to expect from Wales. Every time I've seen Wales in a movie, it's in black and white and covered in coal dust.
Really?
Wales is gorgeous. I mean, it's got some fantastic beaches. I mean, like 3 of the top 10 beaches in Europe are in Wales. I mean, it's just astoundingly beautiful. That was one of my favorite trips that we did, and we went into the Pembrokeshire Castle, and we had a tour guide there that was Henry, I think was his name, but he was just so fantastic. We were just so into it. He could make that castle come alive. That's the only castle that never fell under siege in Europe, so it's got a pretty neat history.
Is there Pride and Prejudice ties? Because I feel like Pembrokeshire sounds like something from that movie.
Well, she was around. She was buried at I can't think of the name of the town where the South Downs Way start, but that's where her grave is. She's actually buried in the cathedral there.
In Wales?
No, this is in England.
Oh, okay.
No, she was. I think she grew up around Bath, England. So I mean, she's right around England the whole way.
Interesting. I don't know why Pembrokeshire reminds me of that, but.
I'm just impressed that you remember your tour guide's name from 8 years ago.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, that's good. Jumping the timeline a little bit just because I want to backtrack it. So we're not going to talk about every trail that you've done because there's too many, and we've talked about a lot of these and haven't talked about some of them, so I definitely want to double click on those. In 2014, you did the Grey Wolf Loop in, I assume, Olympic National Park?
Yeah, that's Olympic.
Yeah.
That was right when I'd taken my wife, well, my girlfriend, we weren't married yet. We went to Scotland, and the next summer we were reading Backpacker magazine, and they said there were challenges they did. It's like, go to 3 national parks this year. So we went to Olympic, we went to the Grand Canyon, and we went to Isle Royale. That was all in that year. And then also another one was take somebody that's never been backpacking before with you on a trip. So I took my brother-in-law with us to Isle Royale. But we had actually been up to Isle Royale. Let me think. I got to get the sequence right. We did Grand Canyon first, then we went to Isle Royale, and then I was talking to one of the rangers up there, and she had just come from Olympic, and she told us about the Grey Wolf Loop, and then we saw a write-up in Backpacker magazine. So you don't need permits for it, so we just went out and rented a couple of bear canisters and went.
How long is it?
It's only like 50, 60 miles. It's just a short loop.
Okay.
And I know there's a lot of diversity within the park. Are you in rainforest here? Is it one of the drier parts of the park?
I just remember we started off and you have like a 6,000 foot drop at the beginning. I can't remember. It's up. I can't remember exactly where it's at in the park, but it's not in the rainforest area. It was just more like pines.
Yeah.
And we had to go over a couple of passes that were up 12-ish, 11, 12, somewhere. I mean, they weren't the tallest passes, but I fell on one of those and went rolling down and lost my glasses. my wife at that point ended up in tears several times on that trip. I thought that was the end
witnessing you roll down a mountain.
Well, and she missed the turn of the trail at one point. Ended up on the rocky front side of a cliff with no trail, so she got shook up there, and so I thought that was the end of our backpacking.
Are there wolves?
No.
Oh.
Would you recommend this one? Was it memorable enough?
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't not recommend any of the hikes that I've been on. I've liked them all.
But nothing special. Doesn't stand out.
I mean, Washington is one of my favorite states. I mean, I've done a lot of hiking out there. I mean, with the PCT and the Wonderland Trail. I mean, it's gorgeous. I recommend out there anytime for anybody.
I'm really excited about the England hikes. I don't know where Zach's going to jump to next,
do it.
But I want to talk about, and you've got a couple of England hikes, but part of my short list being the West Highland Way, all these are selfish questions, is that England is, I feel like it's not like as scary going abroad and doing a hike in England as it is to go abroad and do a hike in France or do a hike in Italy. And part of that's the language barrier, but part of that is I feel like I've been there like enough times where I feel comfortable with it. So these are really interesting to me because I could see myself taking something that you say about one of these and being like, okay, I should do that one.
In Southwest England, their accent is so thick, you swear they're speaking a different language. It doesn't come across as English.
Okay.
So there is a language barrier in there,
sure.
depending on where you're at. But, I understand. I mean, it's less intimidating.
Yeah. Well, we'll start with the first one chronologically, which looks like the Yorkshire Dales High Way.
Okay, that was back in first trip back in 17 when we did the extended tour. Who would have thought Northern England in November gets cold and wet? We got out there, we got caught in rain and flooding. We only hiked about 2/3 of that trip, and then started flooding out the trail. So we had jumped off and went up to the Lake District.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that's gorgeous country. If you've ever seen, what is the All Creatures Great and Small? That's in that area.
So it's south of the lakes?
Yeah, it ends in the Lake District.
Okay. Does it go through the Peak District?
No, it goes through the Yorkshire Dales. I mean,
okay.
That's another national park.
Pulling up my Google.
But it ends in the Lake District.
Is that one you'd go back and do during a more sane time of the year?
I'm pretty well done with England with the hikes that I've done over there. I might do Hadrian's Wall or the Coast to Coast, one of those two. Of all the hikes that I've did, that's probably my least favorite in there. I like trees, and there weren't a lot of trees in that.
So this was part of a... Thank you, Chance.
You're welcome. You can just keep asking questions. Allow me.
Chance is still a drink bitch. Oh, yeah, I'll drink it out of my chalice. So you mentioned that obviously you were in Europe for an extended period. Started with the Pembrokeshire, which we covered already. Tell me more about the GR10.
The GR10 is the Pyrenees Traverse, and I can't remember. It starts in Hendaye and ends in Bagnols-sur-Mer on the Mediterranean, so it starts on the Atlantic. And it's a very simple formula. Every day, 4,000 feet up, 4,000 feet down. There's no switchbacks except for the one area where the French call it's the Ariage, and they don't like that because it's got zigzags in it, which are switchbacks. They don't like the switchbacks because it slows them down. It makes them walk further. The French use hiking as a competitive sport. I mean,
they sound like the people in New England.
Yeah, very much. They're all about the FKT. I met one guy in there that we were talking about the Tour de Mont Blanc, and I said, "Have you done that?" And he goes, "Yeah, I did it in 3 days." It's like, "What was it like?" He goes, "I don't know. I didn't see it."
Yeah, that's very fast for TMB. So we won't go too deep in this, but you had done the Wonderland Trail previously. How does the difficulty of the GR10 compare to something like the Wonderland Trail?
The GR10 is the toughest trail that I've hiked.
Yeah? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I'd say it's tougher than the long trail even.
Wow. Both in terms, because like the long trail, obviously there's a lot of gain involved, but it's a...
Well, you got basically 50 days of 4,000 foot up. I mean, I think you have more gain in that 550 miles. I'm not going to say as much as the AT, but I mean, it's pretty significant. It cuts in more than just a quarter of the AT. It's probably closer to half of the elevation.
Wow. That's bananas. So
and they're 4,000 foot climbs consistently. It's not like 1,000, like the AT is 1,000, 2,000, drop. It's 4,000. You just get, they do everything until you're sick of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned that there's not switchbacks. Does that mean it's very steep? Are we talking like 15% grades, or what are we looking at?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's pretty steep.
Yeah.
And that's where I came up with the term supply fluke, coming for resupply, because you put that weight on and then you're climbing 4,000 feet and you just can't do anything because you're carrying a couple of days worth of food. I mean, we typically didn't carry more than 2 or 3 because you're going through towns almost every day for the most part. But
and what's the distance on that one?
It's only 500 and some odd miles.
Only. How long did that take you?
We did it. It was almost 2 months, I think, that we were on that. But we take a lot of zeros. I've sold everything. I have no house, and we'd sold everything. We were married, and we were trying to decide where we wanted to live. We just wanted to enjoy our time on the trail.
And is it still consistent that you guys are getting along better on trail than in town?
Oh yeah.
That was the story throughout.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the whole time we're hiking, I mean, we did fine on the trail together. I mean, 17 was the year we got married, so I mean that was honeymoon stage.
Sure. I would think if hiking's going to separate people, it's during a 4,000 foot climb every single day.
Yeah.
So are you just camping at the base of each of those climbs, or
we would go. I mean, they had little cabins up there too that you could stay in for free, but they were fully enclosed cabins. It was not quite as nice as the shelters on the long trail when you get on the north half, but they were fully enclosed. No bathrooms out there, though. I mean, everything was digging a hole or holding it till you get into town.
Yeah. And is there much of a culture on that trail? Like, are there other people doing this?
Not that many thru-hikers. I mean, we met maybe 2 or 3 thru-hikers. Most people do it the French would do it like 2 weeks a year, so they take like 3 or 4 years to do the whole trail.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Well, I don't want to skip to the next England one because we got a bunch of like long ones. We've got the AT, we've got the lash of the PCT.
Yeah, let's talk about the AT. We can't not talk about the AT here on Backpacker Radio.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I would consider to be more of a traditional backpacking trip. Like you started internationally and then wound up on the AT, which is kind of the inverse of most people's stories.
We started with the GR10 thinking that would be a good challenge to see if we could handle that. We could handle the AT. We should have done the AT before we did the GR10.
Yeah.
Because it's actually a more difficult trail.
Yeah. Did the AT seem easy?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. I mean, and we took our time. I mean, we took 8 months to do it. The first time in 2018, we started in February and ended in October. So.
And you mentioned not liking the social aspect of being in town. How did you handle a bigger group dynamic on the AT?
Well, because we were out there for so long, we met just about everybody. Almost all the bubbles passed us. We were in the first. We didn't actually get into a bubble until we got caught in the Smokies and we hit a snowstorm. We had 20 below zero. We had to get off, and then we got stuck in Gatlinburg for 5 days. And so then we were in a bubble for a few days, but then we just go slow enough that the bubble would pass, and then we'd wait for the next one to get us.
So are you actively avoiding people, or that's just the way that it worked out?
I'd say we weren't actively avoiding, but we weren't actively pursuing either.
Uh-huh.
Until we met friends up at, where do they make the pancakes? Upper Goose Pond. We met a couple that this was the NASA engineer or the NASA supervisor, and we hiked with them the rest of the way to the end, and then they hiked with us 2/3 of the PCT and with us in Europe in 22 as well. So we hiked several thousand miles with them.
So you feel more comfortable around fellow engineers?
Well, yeah, Bear and Sassy are just easy people to get along with.
Yeah.
Bear makes friends wherever he goes. I mean, he's good at reading people, and he can give people what they need.
Yeah.
And
did you dislike the social dynamics of the AT? Indifferent?
Well, I mean, I obviously like the AT since I've hiked it 3 times. I chose it for this last big hike that I did because of the structure, the infrastructure there. I figured I'd start going south, and if I didn't like it, I know there's enough infrastructure with hostels and everything that I could meet friends if I had to, and I could hike with a group if I really wanted to. But by the time I got out of Maine, I could tell it's like, wow, I really like hiking by myself. So.
Wait, you're not talking about the first time you did it?
No, I'm talking about my last.
If you started in Maine in February, you were insane.
No. That's why I got off trail, though. I ended up falling this time and breaking my finger.
What was the story there?
I was too lazy to get out my micro spikes. I was in southern Maine, and I was on Blue Mountain, and I was going to go see Honey. She was going to pick me up. And I didn't want to take the time. It was a sheet of ice up on top of Old Blue, and I just slid down. I was looking at Speck and Baldpate and thinking, oh my God, how am I going to handle those? And my feet just went down, and I caught on a tree and bent this. It was all the way out like this.
Don't like
Did you snap it back into place?
I had 3 pairs of gloves on, and I just pushed it back in. I didn't want to take my gloves off because I thought I had a compound fracture.
Oh, no.
And I knew if I took my gloves off, I wouldn't get them back on. So
yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, what goes through your mind when you look down at your hand and a finger's pointing in the wrong direction?
That's the worst feeling of emptiness in my gut that I've had really since my sister died. I mean, the emptiness that I had there. I mean, I had that same thing. It's like, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
But then I got in there, and it seemed to be all right, but obviously it was broken. I thought it was just dislocated and swollen, but now it's a useless finger. I would have rather have it amputated at this point.
Would they do that for you? Like if you went in and you were like, this finger is just not doing anything for me since I broke it. Do you think they'd take it off for you?
Well, what was that? There's a movie like Reacher where he's got to cut his finger off or the Zek will kill him. It's like,
I haven't seen that one.
And it's like he can't do it, so he ends up getting killed. It's like, well, I mean, that would be the incentive I need to get rid of this finger right now.
Yeah, you're just asking for a reason. All right, keep the sharp objects away.
Okay, so 17, obviously you do a lot of treks through Europe, follow that up on 18 on the AT. At this point, are you fully retired from work, or are you telling yourself you're just taking
I'm not retired.
Hiatus?
I'm quit.
Okay.
Retirement implies success, income. I have none of that.
Yeah.
I'm just living off of savings, and I'm hoping I can make it. When I turn 67, I'll start drawing Social Security, and then I might stop hiking then at that point.
Okay.
But then I'd have enough money that maybe I could afford to get a place. But to me at this point, a place seems like a place to die.
Interesting.
So you would not say that you're retired currently?
No, I'm not retired.
Yeah. Do you work in the off season?
No, I don't swear around me.
He's unemployed.
Unemployed. All right, fair enough. Okay, so you follow up the AT with next year's the PCT.
Yeah, we started out started way too early. We had our start date, and we couldn't get to the beginning of the trail because the interstate was closed down because there was snow on the interstate. So we had to delay our start by 5 days. And we got up. We had to bounce around a few times because the snow was so bad on what's the big peak?
Jacinto.
Yeah, San Jacinto. We ended up hopping around and to finish off the desert, and then when we got to Walker Pass, it still was the Sierra. We were too early, so we jumped up to Old Station, got into more mess up there, almost fell down back of a mountain, and then my wife said that's it, we got to stop. So we went out and did the Oregon Coast Trail, and then we got back on in Washington, went up to the Canadian border, and that was when we could still hike into Canada. So I had a friend in Vancouver pick us up, and we spent a few days with him. Then we came back to Portland. We were going to go south, and my mom died, so we got off trail. So we ended up not getting the trail done in 19. So we had to come back in 20, and then my friends Bear and Sassy came with us. We did Oregon south until the fires got us. We got down to Lake Tahoe, and we got off, drove around for a while, then we came back, and we knew we didn't have enough time to do the Sierra then when they opened the National Forest back up. So we hiked the Tahoe Rim Trail at that point. And then the next year we came back and finished with Bear and Sassy the Sierra. So it was like you did.
Yeah.
It's much better to go through the Sierra in nice weather.
Oh my God, it was a dream in August compared to doing it if I had done it in May.
Oh, Evolution Creek. I mean, even though it was only ankle deep, we were going south, so we saw the waterfall where the bodies wash when you slip. So
you filled in your time on the PCT when you got off trail with the Oregon Coast Trail. How did you like that?
We thought we were, well, my stepson was in the basic training for the Army. And so the plan was we were going to hike up and catch a plane in Portland, go to his graduation, come back. So we went north on the beach, going on the coast trail. So the prevailing wind was in our face. We're walking in sand, which is just like walking in snow. We did everything basically wrong on that one. That was one that we probably would have been better off looking a little bit ahead. We met the woman, I can't remember her name. She's written a book about the Oregon Coast Trail. And she, it's like, wow, you're doing this? It's like, wow, you're doing everything wrong. It's like, thank you.
It's funny because I feel like most of the engineers I know who are backpackers tend to be the ones who over-prepare for things. Is that like a natural trait in you that you're suppressing, or you just have gotten away with backpacking and not preparing that?
My job for so long was keeping track of all the details, having schedules and rigidity, and I just don't want to do that anymore. I will want to back up. When I was on the PCT, we did the Washington section. We met Tammy Azores, and she's written the best book about the Wonderland Trail. And I was like starstruck, meeting her. We used one of her itineraries when we did the Wonderland Trail. So, I mean, that was a big moment for us to meet her and have dinner with her.
Yeah. So more of a guidebook than like a trail memoir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's actually the best guidebook. I mean, it's got history. It's kind of what you're working on. But then she's got all these itineraries to go with it. So she's got all the background stories, how the trail was developed, and
oh, that's cool.
Do you remember any fun facts?
No, I don't.
That's
okay. It was originally built. The trail was originally built for the Forest Service to use, so the rangers could ride their horses around to check on all the backcountry camps.
Oh, that makes sense.
Again, I'm just going to jump around. We're going to yada yada Tahoe Rim Trail. You cleaned up the miles of the PCT. Curious to know, you did the main section of the AT?
Yeah, after we did the Sierra southbound, I mean, we'd only been out, 2 months. I mean, I'd like to, if I could, at least get 1,000 miles a year. We didn't quite make it that year. We only got like 900 miles, but went up and did, we used Hippie Chicken Poet as our base camp, and then they took us down south, and then we came back up, stayed with them, went up and did Katahdin. Well, we didn't go up Katahdin. We stopped at the other end of the 100-mile wilderness because we didn't feel we'd earned the right to climb Katahdin, nor did we have the energy to.
Yeah. So you said you tried to do 1,000 miles per year. At what point do you start planning the next year's trails?
I've already got several years planned out for
me.
Really?
So that's where the planning comes in. Is literally choosing.
I just choose the trails I want to hit. I mean, I've got a general idea of what I'm going to do, and I just talked to my cousin a couple of days ago, and I plan on doing Camino Norte next year, and she said, she'd be interested in doing that. So I'm rearranging some of my hiking ideas so it works that she can meet me.
Huh. How often because you said you have several years planned, how often does
I have 4 years planned for some reason, but I won't go into that.
Does it stick to the plan, or as you get closer to the 4 years, are you like, this is nothing near what I thought I was going to do 4 years ago?
I pretty well stick to the sequence for the most part. I mean,
that's pretty good.
Because I have the time and I'm overseas, and I don't have any reason. Right now, I have nothing. My parents are both died. I mean, what got me on the trail when did I start? 23. I got divorced in 22, and my dad died in 22. So I wanted to do something familiar. So I went out to the AT. Right now, I'm divorced, no kids, no dogs. My dogs are all dead. I got nothing to hold me back. So I plan on just going, and I'll probably end up like a Gollum moment in my life, to make it worthwhile, or maybe a Secret Gardener type of ending for my life, to end up on a beach in Africa or something like that.
That's funny.
I'm sure there's a lot of like young single backpackers out there that would follow your path in life, generally speaking. Like they don't want to get tied down by a partner unless like they matched their enthusiasm for long distance backpacking. Do you feel a sense of fulfillment just one year from the next, just going to explore the next trail?
I can't, at this point in my life, I just can't sit still anymore. It's just, there's too much of the world to see. And I'm lucky enough, I have the means that I can go. I mean, I can't afford to go first class. I mean, I can't afford to do a typical American holiday where I'm staying in nice hotels. If I'm going to do what I do, I have to sleep on the ground a lot. Mm-hmm. So I just like that freedom, and it gives me a chance to see other countries. I've been to about 30 countries altogether, 33, something like that. And I'm going to pick up another probably 10 over this next 4-year period or more.
And how old are you?
I'm 61.
61.
Yeah, I'm just a frail old guy.
Well, I mean, you're doing all these incredible treks. That's my question is, are you doing a lot of training when you're not backpacking?
Do I look like it right now? No, I put on like 30 pounds since November. I was eating 6,000 calories a day on the trail, and I cannot stop myself.
It is a very difficult habit to give up.
Yeah. So I like eating, so I got to get walking again.
Yeah. So you're not doing any training like between hikes?
No.
That honestly, genetically, you must be very gifted, because I feel like most people in their 60s, if they're just like not training in the off season, are probably not going to be trail ready by the time.
I'm not trail ready, but I'm not in a hurry. So I mean, I don't mind doing a 8, 10, 12 mile day, for a week or two, at the start of a trail, to get.
I guess you're doing enough backpacking where the backpacking itself is just kind of continual training.
Yeah.
In a given year, how many like weeks or months out of the year would you say that you're on trail? And I know there's a lot of flexibility.
Well, I just came off a 16, almost 17-month hike. So I mean, I yo-yoed the AT and the long trail, and then I started to go for a triple yo, and that's when I fell and I lost it. I lost the once I fell in southern Maine. I kept going, but when I got up to the Kinsman, it's like I just can't take this ice anymore, and I called it.
Yeah.
So I did 5,400 miles.
Obviously, we want to talk about that yo-yo. That is the main event, but there's still some more novel trails here. I'll let Chance ask the questions because she's more informed with this part of the world.
Yes, I am going to selfishly go back to England. The South Downs Way. Where's that?
I cannot remember it ends in. You might need to look this up.
I got you.
I can't remember the towns starting, but it's about 100-mile trail, and it ends on the chalk cliffs down. It's just down the channel from Dover.
Oh, it ends by Eastbourne, where the Seven Sisters are.
Eastbourne, yes. You come over the Seven Sisters
cool.
at the end. It's a fantastic trail, and it was actually Bear and Sassy that got us to do that one. So that was their idea, and then they went the whole bougie route and did luggage service and stayed at bed and breakfasts, and we camped and went the cheap route.
It's exactly 100 miles. I feel like you never get the exact number, especially because they do kilometers. So for that to work out, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, most of the trails in England for some reason end up being 100.
Wow. It says it goes through old routes and droveways. Is this like dirt roads or?
I mean, there's some dirt roads, and I guess it mainly is. I can't, honestly, I'd have to look at the pictures to remember the trail much, because that was the first hike we did in 22.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've done a number of hikes in the UK. If you had to pick your top 3, and let's try to separate the experience, because like I know obviously you mentioned that you did that one in November and the weather was terrible. Like just trying to be objective about the trail itself.
Top 3 in Europe?
And let's just do the UK.
Okay. Well, Pembrokeshire, definitely. And West Highland Way, so that leaves me one. I've done the Kerry Way in Ireland, but that was okay. It's Ireland, it's the Emerald Isle because it rains a lot. And we had like 5 solid days of rain. So that was be one, more towards the bottom of the list. Probably the Cotswold Way would be my third.
That was the next one on my list. So what is it that's nice about that one?
It's just going through these villages with the thatched roofs. I mean, you're really up on top of the ridge. It's not a challenging hike at all. But you see all these old Iron Age forts, remnants of forts out on I don't know, peninsulas on top of the cliffs, where they've got the stone fortifications up there. And it's just really cool, that it's been settled for 4,000 or 5,000 years. I mean,
I popped back over to the Pembrokeshire Coastal Path because you mentioned it again. First off, look at that beach.
Damn.
That's a nice beach.
The beaches are fantastic there.
Are you swimming in them?
It would be pretty cold, but those are big. They're big surfing in Wales, which surprised me.
The other interesting thing about it is it says that both the Wales Coast Path and the International Appalachian Trail follow the route of the Pembrokeshire Coast Path.
Yeah, we did see some IAT signs up there.
I always forget that it goes more than just past Maine.
Into Ireland.
Yeah.
Well, it comes down into England too. I mean, because I think that's where they stop it is England. They have the coast to coast portion.
Yeah.
There.
I'm just
I think it might also include part of Scotland too. Come down. I don't know.
Yeah, I always forget that it goes like past the, because if you look at the maps and it shows the North America part up to Newfoundland, but where's the other part? Oh, there it is. There it is. It's not exactly a line.
Yeah, it's just like all over. So I mean, it hits northern Ireland, Scotland, and England.
Yeah, they got a little silly with how they planned that.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, well, the same mountains. It's part of the IAT.
Yeah.
Because I guess when the plate tectonics, England started, or Great Britain started following North American continent, and then it just kind of broke off, and I guess that's where we get our independent streak from them.
How long did you say the Cotswold Way was?
It's 100 miles.
100 miles. Everything ending in
Yeah, the Yorkshire Dale, 100 miles.
Yeah. How about the Kerry Way? In Ireland.
Basically 100 miles. I think it was like 85, 89, something like that.
Yeah.
102 for the Cotswold Way.
Okay.
So.
At one point, after we'd finished the AT the first time, or maybe it was the PCT, when we finished that, my wife at the time said, I'm through with long distance hiking. I'm not going to do any trails over 500 miles. So we started throwing in a bunch of 100-mile trails.
There you go.
And what were the highlights of the Kerry Way?
Okay, no, we didn't talk about that one, but you go by the island that Luke Skywalker, when he had his breakdown where he didn't think he was a Jedi anymore, or that he'd failed as a Jedi. You go by those islands right there on that, so that was kind of
cool.
Except it was raining so hard we could just barely see the shadow outline.
Yeah.
And this one's also 100 miles?
Yeah, I think it's
I could get Garrett on that. Those are 2 easy selling points.
Yeah.
1 week, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. You just got to find out every scene that Star Wars was filmed in.
Yeah.
But I know right now you're planning on the TMB to get him.
Yeah.
And that's a better deal to get him in there.
I'm just worried because I've heard the climbs on the TMB can be like a little, for someone who doesn't frequently hike, can be a little tough. So I'm trying to put him in. Ideally, I put him in something first that is just easy and cushy and
Cotswold.
Feels like a vacation.
Cotswold.
And then he thinks that wasn't too bad, and I slowly make it harder.
Yeah.
So.
The Cotswold would be a good one to start. Or you could do the Portuguese Camino, which is good. Just start from Porto, so you get good wine up through, and it's only like a 2-week deal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I always picture all the Caminos are 500.
No.
That's just my brain, though. Okay, well, that's good. We got 2 good options here.
You said it takes 2 weeks. What's the distance on that one?
100 miles.
No, it's a little bit more than that. But I mean, you don't have to carry a lot on that. You carry a change of clothes, your rain gear, and your toilet kit. I mean, and you're staying in places every night. You're staying inside. You're eating town meals, so you carry some snacks for the day, and most of the time you go through another town where you can just stop and, like, a lot of times I would just do like a banana and chips and a Coke for lunch, and then you get a Peregrino meal for supper, which is like a salad, piece of meat, usually pork, vegetable, bread, water, and wine. And it's usually all the water and wine you want to drink.
Yeah.
It's 160 miles from Porto or 390 miles from Lisbon.
Okay.
And we started halfway between. We started at Fatima. Is anybody here Catholic?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I went through 12 years at Catholic school, so there's a miracle there with 3 little kids. The Virgin Mary appears to them, so that's where we started. And there's 2 basilicas there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do you have a tally on how many miles you've backpacked?
I'm somewhere around 13,000.
12 or 13,000.
Yeah.
What does your gear look like today?
Surprisingly, I'm not a very efficient hiker. One of the girls on the long trail last year said, "I thought you'd be a Graham weenie." It's like, no, I still carry a novel with me. I don't read a book it hurts my eyes, so I carry a book. I carry Granite Gear, Crown 2 pack.
Second guess in a row. The Crown 60, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Our previous guess, yeah.
Oh,
that one hasn't come out yet.
I thought you said second guess. I was like, you haven't guessed anything.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I didn't hear the T.
Sorry.
No, the reason I got that is I was carrying a Superior Wilderness design, which is basically you design your own pack.
Yeah.
And I was designing that for this trip, and it was going to run up almost $500 the way I wanted it. And I got this one on sale. They were discontinuing the Crown 2 and they went to the Crown 3, so they sold it for like $95, $99. So I splurged and got another Z-Pax duplex because I was carrying a triplex when it was just my wife and I. So I needed a new tent. So
it's a good gear tip is it makes more sense to spend on your shelter as opposed to your backpack.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, all the packs really are in the 2 to 2.5 pound range now. I mean, I don't see the benefit of cutting out 4 ounces of comfort. I know I was listening to the show with Jabba, and he's carrying a heavier pack now because he wants the organization. So,
yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. What about your sleep system?
Well, it depends. I mean, I was carrying a Revelation quilt and a Nemo inflatable pad and then a Z-foam pad, both.
Why both? Just for the additional insulation?
Yeah, the insulation, because I hiked all through the winter. So I was carrying a 20-degree Revelation. When it got really cold, I switched to a Western Mountaineer 20-degree bag, and a 0-degree Jacks Are Better quilt. I was double. So, and then I also carry an Nalgene bottle, and I would boil a liter of water every night. So I was toasty.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be cold when I sleep.
You
pack your fears, I pack them.
Yeah.
But I hit 6 below several nights on the trail this last year. On Springer Mountain, ironically enough.
Oh, wow.
I'm conflicted as to whether we jump right into the Yo-Yo or if we keep going down the list and at least hitting the high points internationally. Should we do that?
Sure.
All right. You think?
And I'll try to keep my responses.
Okay. Did you highlight this
No,
word?
yeah. What's that?
Am I supposed to say the word that you highlighted? Is it because you don't want to say that word?
No. You've just been doing a good job steering the international.
Okay. The next one is you've done various hiking in the Azores.
Yeah, I went. Yeah, the Azores,
Azores.
part of Portugal.
Where,
I spent probably 2 months really in Portugal in 22.
Okay.
As part of the Portuguese Camino, and then I went out to the island for a couple of weeks, and then I just did a lot of sightseeing in there.
What are the Azores?
It's there's 8 islands out there. It's just off the coast, and it's about a third of the way to America. Surprisingly enough, nobody discovered them until like the early 15th century, like 1404 or something like that. And as soon as the Portuguese found it, they came back because, you grab possession of the island by populating it. So they came back. They were the first to empty the prisons to go populate the islands because they didn't want the Spanish to claim the island. So they came back, emptied the prisons, and populated San Miguel, which is the biggest island. And before that, the Spanish had seen it, and they were out in the Atlantic, and the captain wrote, he found the gates of hell because one of the volcanoes was erupting.
Oh,
so that's the first mention of the Azores in there. But the island that I was on, San Miguel, is actually, it's very similar to Maui. Maui is 2 volcanoes. San Miguel is 3 volcanoes. So I camped in all 3 of the volcanoes.
In them?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
They're technically active, but they're not dormant, but they're just, I don't know, they still, it's kind of cool in Furnace, the second volcano, they actually
I'm looking at the images right now.
They cook this local dish in the steam vents. They dig little holes, put the pots down there, and steam them for like 4 or 5 hours, and then it's the restaurant serves them. But the families will. That's like their Sunday meals. They go there and they cook them. And so it's kind of cool.
These islands look beautiful. Like this looks like the stock footage that you see when your screensaver's on and it's flashing through beautiful places across the world. Like this is some of it.
Yeah, I mean, the first town, they don't allow wild camping there. So you have to go to designated campgrounds. So, I mean, some of them are free. The first one I went to was in Site Cidades, which is 7 cylinders, basically. It's the eruptions inside the volcano. So this cauldron is huge. I walked the cauldron. It's like 16 miles to go around the cauldron. And it was just gorgeous. And then when I came out I had made friends with the guy that was running the campground. His name was Arthur, so I called him King Arthur. So he gave me a ride into town early in the morning, so I didn't have to waste a day of transport. They had buses on the island to get you from one volcano to the other. But we came out and there was an inversion, so the volcano, all you could see was the rim of the cauldron up and all clouds down below. It was so cool to see that.
Wow. First off, look where it is. I know. But so when I was in Maine, and I'm from New York, so Maine's not that far. But when I was hiking through Maine on the AT, like I felt like compared to the rest of America, not North America, but like USA America, that I was far out. Like I'm far away from the rest of it, And I feel like people say that when they're on boats, like in the middle of open water, it's like you just feel like there's nothing around you. These are kind of like being on a boat in the middle of open water. Can you feel when you're out there?
The island sways.
No, but just like that feeling of like, damn, I'm not near anything. Like I am in the middle of nowhere.
I tend to feel that way if I'm out there for an extended period of time. I don't think I could live on an island. I worked down in Puerto Rico. I spent 8 months down there one year, and I felt landlocked. Like you can only go so far before you're going to be running into water. And I just like the freedom. I grew up in the Midwest. I can drive 2 days any direction before I hit water. So I do feel enclosed over time. But just out there for 2 weeks at a time, it didn't really bother me because there's enough to see with the volcanoes there.
Do you ever have to worry about weather and like just flooding and big waves and the islands getting covered by the rest of the ocean?
Yeah, I mean wherever you've got volcanoes and water, you've got the chance of tsunami, but there hasn't been one there for a while. I don't. But that's how the main. I can't remember what the name of the main town is, but it became the capital of the islands because the other town got washed away, and I guess it was a tsunami, so they moved all the town over.
So, are there significant long trails on these? I mean, I know they can't be that long because these islands don't look to be that big. But are you just linking together day hikes? Or
I would set up base camp in the campgrounds and go out and hike for 2 or 3 days in the area, and then come back and camp in the same place every night. Yeah,
is this a pretty touristy area, and is it like mostly Portuguese people or pretty international?
It's pretty international there. It was kind of cool. I looked on the island. I don't plan ahead, but I saw there's like 10 hostels right where you get off the plane. So I flew out there and thought, I'll get a hostel. I went out there, all the hostels were filled. I walked all over town. I started calling people. I'd stop in, and they said no. So I started walking all the way up, and I couldn't find a place where it was flat, that it was obvious public land. So I decided to walk back down, and I walked to the police station. I said, where do the homeless people stay? And the desk patrolman said, you don't want to sleep with there. I have a friend. Just go around the corner. It's a second bar. He should still be open, and tell him that I sent you, and he'll give you a room. So I went around the corner, and he was pulling the tables away, and I said, I'm looking for a place to stay tonight. He goes, how did you find out about me? It's like, well, the policeman told me to come over here. And he goes, okay, hold on here. And he finished closing up. He goes, how long you want to stay? It's like, just one night. He goes, okay, I got a room for you. So he puts me upstairs. It's got a kitchenette, 2 beds, own bathroom. I mean, it's a nice setup, and it was like 35 euros for the night. So it's like, well, I wanted to stay in town, so that was as cheap as a hostel, I thought, and I had all my own space. So I stayed there for 3 days before I went out and started hiking. So I got to see the sights around town.
That's so cool.
But see, you don't plan. I mean, like on the Caminos, bless you. On the Caminos, we would never plan ahead where we were going to stay. We would just hike, and we had the policy of we would always go to the second albergue in town, because the first albergue expects everybody to come to them, and they're full every night.
Yeah.
The second albergue tries to do something special to make it, so people will come to them. So they'll have foot baths, they'll have bodegas that they'll take you down and serve dinner in. So we just started doing that, and turned out to work out a lot better than planning ahead.
So I was under the impression with the more popular Camino, Santiago, that like during high season that you have to make reservations now, that it's so busy.
We were there we might have been a little bit early. It was April and May when we did that. And I think, it was April and May. We did it in like 45 days, but we went all the way. We went from St. Jean Pied de Port to Santiago, and then we went out to Muxia and Fister, the end of the earth. Sure. And took our time. We took days off in Pamplona, and did all the Hemingway stuff,
and never an issue getting a place.
Yeah.
Huh.
The Cinque Terre one, is that just like hiking through the 5 towns?
Yeah.
It's like a 40-miler, or what is it?
It's not even that. I mean, you can hike them all in a day. I just went into the first one. I had a few days left after doing the Via Degli Dei, and I was flying back out of England. There's an interesting little loophole when you go to Europe. Schengen countries only give you 3 months, but if you stay out with France, they give you an extra 3 months, because up until now they've liked us. I don't know what's going to happen now. So if you stay more than 3 months in Europe, exit through France, and it won't raise any flags.
I haven't done that, but I've said I did that because I dated a guy who lived in England, back and forth. He worked in America for a while, but he lived in England for a while too. Afterwards, he's from there. But I went to go visit him when I graduated from college, and you can't stay for more than the 90 days, and I was going to. And so when I went to leave, because I only had the one-way flight, actually when I landed, because I only had the one-way flight, they were like, well, how are you leaving? When are you leaving? And I told them we were going to drive through the tunnel to France for the next part of the trip. They bought it. And then when I went to leave, they asked, well, how come you've been here for so long? And I said, I haven't been here. I went through the tunnel. And it worked. So.
Well, I mean, because when you actually get on the train, you actually, at that point, you're in Britain.
Yeah?
You go through customs and everything.
Really?
In Paris, yeah.
Oh, maybe they knew I was full of shit then and just were being really kind, because they didn't give me any trouble.
If you're a white person in Europe spending money and not causing any trouble, they don't care.
Yeah, I'm a very I don't look threatening.
Yeah.
So.
Agree to disagree.
What do you mean?
That
I'll
red
fight
hair,
you.
That's a demon. You look like a little tiny demon. You had referenced this earlier, and I don't want to go past it, the Via Degli Dei.
The Via Degli Dei.
Yeah.
That goes from Bologna to Florence. That's the path of the gods, and you go through the mountains that are all named after I guess they're the Roman gods. Yeah, the Roman gods up there, and I can't remember all of the mountains. I didn't pay any attention to it. It was just, there's a lot of history on there, but mostly it's because of Florence and Bologna. I mean, there's so much history between those two city-state capitals. I mean, I spent 4 or 5 days in each of them, just all the art and everything. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And Florence I did that with my cousin and her 2 daughters.
Yeah. Florence is one of the coolest cities I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Is this a pretty well-marked trail?
Yeah, it's well-marked. But as I found out, you need to make reservations ahead on that one. So if you go to an information center, the information centers in Europe actually are helpful. They'll make phone calls for you, help you get things, because they understand the language barrier. So if you find somebody that speaks English, they're almost everybody's bilingual or trilingual. It's kind of embarrassing going to Europe.
Do you speak another language?
No. I try, and my Spanish friends say, "Oh my God, you're hurting my ears. Just tell me."
Yeah. And how long is the Via Degli Dei?
It's a short one. It's only 60-ish miles, I think. Yeah,
Neat.
Okay.
Well, I guess it's time for the feature program.
Yeah, the mega game Long Trail squared.
Yeah. Mega Maine to Georgia, Georgia to Maine, and Long Trail squared. So I started, 22, I got divorced, and my dad died. So I was cleaning up my dad's estate, trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I started watching Taylor. I think you guys had Taylor on, didn't you?
Yeah.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, yeah.
And it's like, wow, she's done it twice, and she seems to be happy with it. So I thought, I can do it. I bet it's too late. I'm not going to be able to do it. I'll start southbound. And when we had hiked the trail the first time in 18 and coming north, we took off that overlook over Pembrokeshire Lake, and that was the first clear time we saw Katahdin. You look across that, and I was thinking, oh my God, wouldn't that be incredible to start and end on that? That's a highlight. So I started on my dad's birthday, June 23rd, with the idea that I was going to go south and turn around and do just that, what I had planned, yo-yo the long trail. So I did that bottom section of Vermont 4 times. I did not cheat the long trail. And then I went, my goal was to finish on my birthday or before. I didn't really have a goal. The only thing I started with was my dad's birthday. But then as I got going, it's like, I can hit my mom's birthday on Springer. So that's what I did. I turned around on January 17th on my mom's birthday. So I just slowed down or speed up to get my dates. Then when I came back up to the Massachusetts-Vermont line, I switched to the long trail and hit the Canadian border on my dad's birthday, my 1 year on trail. Then I came back down to Mass, turned around and hit Katahdin on my birthday. And once I'd gotten into the whites, I felt like it was getting over too fast, even though I'd been out there like 400 and some odd days.
And, sorry, this is during the dead of winter that?
I started in June. I hiked all winter.
Yeah.
So I was in the south in the dead of winter.
Yeah.
I mean, I hit snow probably around Damascus, and had it pretty much almost all the way south and all the way back up to Irwin. And Uncle Johnny's, I remember when I came back through, I stayed with Miss Janet going south, and then when I came back north, it was her birthday, and she opted to spend it with her family rather than me. So I stayed at Uncle Johnny's. So I had the bunkhouse to myself with a nice wood-burning stove. So that was kind of nice.
Sorry, I got lost in the trying to trace the track here. So you did the AT full yo-yo.
Yeah.
But you stopped at the long trail when you came to that.
Yeah, and then I yo-yoed the long trail. I went up, I was on the Canadian border on my 1 year anniversary on trail.
Okay.
Then I came back to Massachusetts, turned around, and hit Katahdin on my birthday, October 2nd.
Yeah.
And I'd been ruminating, ever since I got into the whites. Like, I don't want this to end. So it's like, I talked to Wendy up at the ATC, and I talked to Poet and Hippie Chick, and told them I was thinking about doing a triple yo-yo. And Poet and Hippie Chick were fantastic. And they helped me out a lot. And I hit it, came back, and I had some other friends come out and hike with me. But when I left Rangeley, it started snowing, and then I got snow and ice, and I wasn't seeing anybody on the trail, and that's when I fell on Old Blue. So I took 5 days off at the cabin and then continued on. But the day I went by the Presidentials, it was a sustained wind of 85 miles an hour up there, so I took a lower rail route. So I was feeling guilty for not actually staying on the trail, even though I'd already done the whites 3 times. But then when I got back on and started going up the Kinsman, it's like, I just didn't feel it anymore with the ice, and I was feeling guilty for not actually hiking the trail. So,
do you ever get bored? Because, like, I love long distance hiking. I love being on trail, but there's a certain part, like a certain distance in where you start to kind of, like, for me at least, I start to kind of miss being at my desk a little bit. And I tell my managers, I'm like, if you want my best self, like, and I'm starting to burn out a bit, just let me go hike. And I will come back so thrilled to be sitting at this desk.
I thought of this, actually, I thought of you on this. I did not do any slack packing the entire time.
What do you mean you thought of me when you thought of slack packing?
Because you will do slack pack, but this is what that is.
I'm who you think of for slack packing?
No, but
yes.
Here's what the other thing that made me think of you. I never wore my earbuds one time. I never put anything in my ears to distract me. And that I think of you because I hear you talking about, I'm listening to that podcast or I listen to that.
I listen to lots of stuff. We got to circle back to the slack packing part because I have slack pack.
Those are two things that I've heard you talk about. And
okay.
But the ear pods was what I was thinking of mainly with you, not the slack packing. Not the
yeah. Backtrack, it's fine.
Where's that shovel?
Yeah.
Okay, so
there's one other thing I want to throw in here.
Okay, what else?
Another little symbology. No, I'm not going to take another diggity. I carried 3 things of my dad's on the trail. I carried a pair of gloves, a tube of Neosporin, and his phone. Because my dad tried to protect me, the gloves. He tried to heal me, the Neosporin, and the phone was far out. He tried to give me guidance. So those.
What do you mean he tried to heal you?
If I ever were hurt for any reason, he would try to help me out.
You mean like when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, even as an adult. I mean, my dad was 90 years old. I mean, there's a whole story there with okay. Well, when he was dying, I'd been to Europe. I'd been over there 6 months the second time in 22, and I came back. And I didn't realize he was that bad. When I came in, he started crying, because he wouldn't let me know how bad he was. I talked to him every week. And he's like, I didn't want you to know I was this bad. Well, I took him, I was going to move back into town to live with him. I'm divorced. I was going to get a job there in town and spend whatever time he had. And I started taking him on walks, wheelchair, because he was in a assisted living, which I consider him still a COVID death because he lost so much muscle mass because they isolated down. But he went downhill really fast. I ended up taking him to the hospital a couple of times. And then the second time he was in there, and I called my brother up. He lives in Florida. And I said, you've got to get up here. We'd done a procedure on his lungs. He was awake enough that he said, I want to get it done because his lungs were filled with mucus. And so they vacuumed out his lungs, but he'd lost so much elasticity, I could tell it wasn't working, and he was going downhill fast. So I called my brother. He flew up Monday morning, and that night I held off putting him on comfort measures until my brother saw what it was like. And then we started the comfort measures, and he woke up, and he's like, oh, Buddy's here. And my brother-in-law, George, he's like, oh, George, it's so nice to see you guys. And, we had like a 30-minute window where he was happy and himself. And then that was it, and he went down, and they were giving him fentanyl, which, he's already having lung issues, so it was just a matter of time, So we were looking at the linear decline, and I figured, he's going to make it till about 4 o'clock in the morning. So I said, I promised him I'd stay with him. You guys go home, get some sleep, and when it looks like it's getting near the end, I'll call you. So about 3 o'clock in the morning, it starts getting bad, and the nurse comes in and says, you should call your brother now. So I called him up, and just as I called him, said, you got to get in here, waited about 10 minutes, then my dad died. And I just lost it. I was like, I can't imagine life without you. I'd been talking to him the whole time, rubbing his arm, rubbing his head. And when I started crying, he came back up. His pulse was like 68. His respiration was 36. His blood pressure was 130/70. It was ideal numbers. And it's like, And then I started, it was like, Dad, I'm sorry, I don't want you to suffer anymore. I mean, I'll be fine. I just don't like the thought of being without you. And as soon as I said that, he flatlined.
Wow.
So.
Oof. Did he say anything when he came
No,
to?
no. He wasn't.
You gave him permission?
Yeah.
Wow, that's heavy.
So that's pretty much why I wanted to get out. I was looking for something to do then, and that's when I latched onto the AT again.
Yeah. And so you said you started on his birthday?
Mm-hmm.
And remind me the date.
June 23rd.
June 23rd.
And I sent you a picture of me when I came out. This was the heavy rain. This was the wettest Maine history the wettest summer in Maine's history. When I came out on the 24th, they had released water on the Penobscot River upstream, and they didn't tell anybody in the park. And so I got past Dacey Campground, the Dacey Pond area, before they put the signs up closing the trail down. So I was out there, and there was like 3 of us out there with Sheriff and Cheers. They ended up catching up with me. And, we had water crossings along the Penobscot that were up to my mouth, above my mouth. We were carrying a pack above our head. It was kind of cool, actually. I mean, the water wasn't flowing in. I mean, the water was already up and stationary. Cheers is like 6'5". He wasn't afraid of anything. He would go through first. If it looked like it was going to get wet, he'd come back, take his pack off, carry it across. Sheriff, his wife, is like smaller than you, I would say. And so he would come back, get her pack, and then she would dog paddle behind him, and then I would follow, and I'd carry my pack over my head. So then by the time we got to the exit, it was only like knee deep, and we were so relieved, that's like, oh, this is great. But then when we got out to the bridge, we talked to the ranger there, and he said the trail was flooded in the 100-mile wilderness, and he'd recommend waiting or a couple of days or jumping around. Everybody else ended up jumping forward. I took a few days off and went into Millinocket and then came back and went south. But I only had one day the entire time I was in Maine that my feet didn't get wet. I would just get up in the morning and just find the nearest puddle and get it over with and walk my feet through.
Damn.
It's funny you mentioned previously that like you don't understand the draw of an FKT, but it sounds like this hike is kind of in the same vein. Like obviously you're not doing any record-breaking pace, but it's quite a challenge.
It's an endurance. Do you know who Let It Be is?
I don't think so.
Let It Be has hiked the Triple Crown 4 times. He's working on his 5th time right now. And I ran into him down in Virginia and then up in Vermont the 2nd time. And he said the most he's ever been out is 11 months. So, I mean, I was not in a hurry to get back. I mean, in reality, my hope was when I turned around, I wanted to go all the way back to Georgia, hit Springer on April 25th, which would be my sister's birthday, then come back up and hit the mountain formerly known as Klingman's Dome on May 7th, which is my brother's birthday. And then I was going to hike to Trail Days and see everybody and get off there.
So in total, how many miles did you do on this yo-yo?
Just 5,400 this time.
Just 5,400.
Only.
Yeah, walk me through what it's like going through the northern section in the dead of winter.
Well, I mean, I just started in. I wasn't even in the dead of winter in the northern section. I was in autumn, and Maine and New Hampshire in autumn kicked my ass. I wouldn't want to go. I think it would have been better in winter with the snowpack up there, so there would have been some traction on the ice. But right now, or when I came through, it would snow, and it would get warm enough to melt, and then it would become a sheet of ice. And so that was actually worse than if I had waited, probably. But,
and you were carrying traction.
Yeah, I had micro spikes.
Yeah. Was that sufficient?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, I wasn't sliding around a whole lot, but going up Kinsman, it was just so stressful to me that I just got tired of it. I just had a knot in my stomach the whole time. And, there's there were other people out there doing the whole thing. I mean, Grape yo-yoed last year as well. He started in Georgia in I think February, and he finished in November. I mean, he did the full yo-yo of the AT. Captain Jack is still out there right now. I met him way down south and ran into him again. He's got a very good YouTube channel right now, but he basically copied mine. He went up, turned around, and then when he came back to the junction, he went up to Canada and came back down. And right now, he should be in Tennessee. I talked to him last week, and he was in Marion. But he's got really good video channel. There were lots of Triple Crowners last year. Giroux, Sixes, Lost Boy. I met probably 4 or 5 people working on their calendar year triples.
Are calendar year triples getting easier, or are just more people getting crazy?
I think the latter for sure.
Because there's so many more people doing it than I feel like used to.
Yeah. That's way beyond anything I could do.
Same.
I mean, I don't even think I could do one of the West Coast trails in a single year because of the snow. I mean, I'm over the snow now.
Yeah, you're in good company.
In like normal shoulder hiking season, how many miles a day are you doing on something like the AT?
I was doing between 15 and 20. A lot of people were giving me crap for going slow. So
who's giving you crap for what you're doing? That's crazy.
Well, everybody's giving me advice about my gear. It's like, oh, you're carrying too much gear, and it's like, because I carry a pump, I carry 2 sleeping pads. I was carrying a quilt and a sleeping bag. I carried an insulated lunchbox so I could put a small Nalgene in that and put my fuel and my electronics in that, so I didn't have to sleep with it in with me at night, and I would just put that under the corner of the quilt. So I just don't like stuff touching me, but I like to be warm, and my water filter would be in there too, and one of my water bags. So
I feel like the audacity of somebody to try to give you advice with how many miles you've gotten. Like, could you go lighter? Yeah, probably, but you've learned what works for you.
And I'm not trying to outrun nature. I'm trying to enjoy my time in nature. So I don't mind carrying the luxuries. Like, I carry the pump, definite luxury. I carry an inflatable pillow. I know I've heard some podcasts where you've been debating.
Pillow curious.
I was carrying 2 pillows for a while.
Jeez.
I mean, they're only an ounce. I mean, what, it's like.
Are you using both at the same time?
No, I would put one between my legs because I was losing so much weight. My knees would knock, and that was driving me crazy. So I put one pillow between my knees.
Yeah.
I got down to, I was down not quite as low as I did when I first lost all my weight, but I got down to 170 on this trail where these pants right now, I could not hold them up. I had to tie them off and then make sure they were higher than my waist belt. Otherwise, my pants would fall down while I was hiking. So wow. I upped my calories then. You can see I've recovered nicely from that.
Yeah. So that's the last trek. You basically just came off of that.
Yeah, I got done. I was out 510 days altogether. I did 5,400 miles. And I can't remember. I ended November 10th or 11th, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So obviously you have a great admiration for the AT.
It's definitely my favorite trail.
Is it?
Yeah.
What about the AT is it that you love?
The AT can be whatever you want it to be. If you want a bougie trail, you can make it a bougie trail. If you want a primitive experience, you can make it a primitive experience. You want to make it miserable as hell, easy as can be. You want to make it less challenging? Shorten your days. I mean, most people that get hurt on the AT are doing it to themselves. Because everybody's, and that's another thing. I sent you an email last year. I don't know if you remember that, but there were some FKTs coming out, and I said, the FKTs are great, but, you got to focus on the older people. They're the ones with the time and the money. When you see these old people coming out, the scariest thing on the trail to me is 4 guys in their 60s hiking together, because they are out looking for testosterone, and they will keep going until one of them dies.
Do you like that aspect of the AT? I feel like the AT obviously attracts more older hikers compared to some of the other trails. Did you find more kinship out on the AT for that reason?
I didn't hike with a lot of people. I had friends come out, like Ms. Man, who I met in 2018, came out with me, hiked with me twice, met me 2 or 3 times. Some Sobos that I met last year came out and met me again. One of my friends from college came out and hiked with me twice for 2 weeks. And it was kind of funny. I kept him in nice areas like New York and Massachusetts. And when he left, he goes, "Wow, this is a lot tougher than I thought." It's like, Dave, I gave you the easy part.
That's funny. So you mentioned that you've got the next 4 years planned.
Yeah.
What do the next 4 years look like?
Okay, well, in a week, I'm flying to Japan. I'll spend 3 weeks in Japan. I met a great guy in the 100-mile wilderness. We hiked together a half a day. And we became friends. We caught up again at Hippie Chicken Poets at Shaw's, and he left part of his tent behind, and I shipped it forward, so he got it down at Sterling Inn. And since then, he's just been following me and doing nice things for me. I just went down to Arizona for a couple weeks because he has a house in Arizona and a house in Japan. So I went down there and spent a few weeks with him, and now I'm going to Japan, and he's the one that talked me into doing the 88 temples right now. Excuse me. And he's going to come over and hike with me for a few days to get me set up. After Japan, I'm going to spend 3 months in Japan. That's the longest you can stay. Then I'm going to go to South Korea for a couple of weeks because you've only got, the monsoon will start in June, so I've got 2 good weeks. So I'm just going to do some national parks, short hikes there, nothing big. Then I told you I was talking with my cousin, and I wanted to do a Camino. She can come in July timeframe, so I'm going to go up to Europe. I got friends in Spain. I'll leave my stuff probably in Burgos with one of my friends, and I might go down to Corsica and hike the GR20, then hike the Camino Norte, the North Coastal route, and then I'll go up to Iceland and do a couple of trails up there. And then depending on the time of year at that point, that's probably be about right. I'll probably just go down to New Zealand, and I want to hike the Te Aroa. And when I get done with that, I might hop over to Tasmania, do a little bit of hiking there. Then if I'm there, I got to go on to the mainland of Australia. Then I'll come back up, and I want to hit Nepal again. I'd like to hike Everest Base Camp, and then the guy that owns the travel company that I use started a new trek last year he told me about. It goes from India to China through central Nepal, so depending on the time of year. And I think he recommends that as a winter or a fall hike, so I'll maybe do that the following year. But then, yeah, see, this is where the schedule gets murky. One of my nieces, my cousin's daughter, calls me uncle. She's graduating from school in May of next year, and she wants to go to South America and hike Machu Picchu. So I'll probably go down there with her, and then if I go to South America, I'll stay down there for a while. I want to go to Paraguay. I'd like to go Chile and Peru and Bolivia, so I'll find hiking down there. But basically, I want to stay out of the country for probably about 4 years.
Yeah. Well, your next 4 years sounds like a lot of people would be happy with that, adventuring over the course of a lifetime. You're doing this in your 60s. It's pretty awesome. This is a sponsored question, but I'm genuinely very curious to get your answer on this. Brought to you by Topo Athletic. Use our code TREKWINTER15 to get 15% off at topoathletic.com. What is your top performance enhancing or backpacking hack? Like, how are you able to make this happen year after year, 5,400 miles yo-yoing the AT through all seasons?
Well, one of the things, and you guys mentioned this recently on one of the shows, and it might have been the one with Java. And I tell this to people, guys all want to change my trail name. I carry Vagisil. Any chafing at all, anything, I put that on there. It takes care of it because it puts a crust on it. It deadens it. That's my secret ingredient for everything. That's why I haven't had any. If I start feeling a hot spot, I put that on there. If I start feeling any rubbing at all, I put that on there. My first aid kit is pretty much Vagisil and Leukotape.
You ever get weird looks when you go into a store and buy Vagisil?
Yeah. Well, and then I could never find it, so I've always got to ask a woman to find the Vagisil. Then I want to say something about the topos. I was hiking with a Marine Corps colonel last year, clean break. he's 30 years in, and he's out, and he's decided to join the corporate world now. But he wore the Topos, and he was trying to talk me into them, and I was almost convinced. But he wore them. He got over 900 miles and showed no wear on any of them. So, I mean, I'm not paid by your sponsor. I mean, but I'm telling you, I have anecdotal evidence that they're good shoes.
Yeah. Another good endorsement. I'm looking forward to get more miles into mine so I can give it that sort of endorsement as well. But Curtis, definitely not easily forgotten. You have a very impressive...
As my second wife started, I'm best forgotten. That's when I kind of knew the gig was up.
Yeah, no, you've lived quite the life, done some incredible trails, and it sounds like you're only midway through it. So thank you for joining us here on Backpacker Radio.
All right, well, thank you for having me.
Just quickly before we get to the trek propaganda, like a dummy, forgot to ask Curtis what his website, social media, etc. was, and check out forloveofhiking.com and at easilyforgotten2023 on Instagram, and both of those will be in the show notes. Obviously, he's got some fun adventures upcoming, and if you want to track him, that's how you should do so. Okay, now to the trek propaganda. Got a couple of news-ish. I guess one's news, the other's not so much. The news piece is outdoor gear retailer Decathlon accused of ties to forced labor in China.
Oof.
By former guest, editorial intern, all-star Katie Jackson. If you've ever wandered onto Decathlon's website looking for a budget-friendly puffy or a last-minute replacement for a broken trekking pole, you're not alone. The global sports retailer has built its reputation on affordable gear that gets the job done, but now Decathlon finds itself at the center of a growing scandal with allegations that some of its products may be linked to forced labor in China's Xinjiang region. Is that how you'd say that?
Oh.
All right. Yeah, if you want to get the full rundown on this one. Again, allegations, alleged. No one's going to get litigious on us. Allegations, alleged. And this other one, again, by Katie. She's a powerhouse for us. Could this new mapping app be, or from the founders of Gaia, GPS, become a thru-hiker staple? I will say off the gate that this is a sponsored post, and they didn't buy the mention on the podcast. This is my editorial decision to include this here because I think it's interesting. But obviously, being the founders of Gaia, they know what they're doing here.
Why not just fix Gaia? Because like it says it includes an elevation profile. Oh, they're not with them anymore?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, wouldn't that make more sense?
I don't know the particulars of this. I'm speculating a little bit, but Gaia was purchased by whatever the company is that owns Outside Magazine. And I think
well, the elevation profile is nice.
So yeah, it's funny because you had mentioned last year that your frustration with...
Do you think they did this because of me?
Probably, definitely. Just this is the chance feature.
Weird that they didn't reach out to me first then.
Yeah, but so everyone should check the app out. It is free. It is a freemium model, so some of the paid features include like offline maps and that sort of thing. But you've been pining for the feature where you can just like select 2 points on a trail and get the elevation profile, and this offers that.
Okay.
And you know, we've had this frustration also with Onyx, where like you can get the full trail or you can delete sections that you've done, but you can't necessarily like hone in on a specific section of trail to get the elevation profile, and this offers that.
Yeah, I just need the in-between of Gaia and Far Out, where like it's not as cookie cutter as Far Out, but it's not as like so much that you could do with it and so hard to do anything as Gaia.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Far Out is the Apple phone and Gaia is the Android, where like you can do so much with Android, but like I'm not into all that stuff. I just want to be able to do some things a little more.
Yeah. I will also say that in this piece, Crocker cites his frustrations with, he doesn't name names, but other navigation apps and how they sell your data. And a big emphasis of Goat Maps is that they don't do that. So I'll leave it with that. Again, this was a sponsored piece, but at no point was it discussed that they'd be included in the podcast. This was my decision. Okay, question of the day. Is this you? Or is this Rachel? It's not me.
I don't know.
Last time I said it wasn't me, it was definitely me. So
Yeah,
maybe it
I
was
don't
me.
replace hands. I mean, I can check the text thread.
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
If you had to replace your hands with something else, what would you pick? And she gives
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking there.
No,
Sorry.
think Edward Scissorhands.
You start.
Is the prompt. I was waiting for like the correct answer to come to me, and I don't feel like I love any of my options.
Okay, so maybe I'll go.
Yeah. Well, I'll just go first because it's not good, so I don't want to end because it'll leave a bad taste in people's mouths. But with how paranoid I've grown of being in the sun too much, I feel like just always having sunscreen.
You want to always be sticky? Every time you give Jenna a hug, you want to leave smears of sunscreen on her?
Whatever you pick, it's going to be it's going to have its pros and its cons, but I will be prepared in sun at all times. This will encourage me to get outside because I'll always have it at my ready.
How are you going to text if every time you touch your phone, slimy sunscreen gets all over it?
Well, maybe it's like one of those sunscreen like chapstick things where I could use the plastic end to send it out.
You're just
also,
knuckle texting?
Voice to text. Yeah, Chance, this is 2025. There's inclusivity features now.
Yeah, I mean, mine's a lot more rational. I would want octopus hands.
Octopus, so tentacles.
I want
so you just want more fingers.
No, I want tentacle fingers, but you can't just have fingers if you have to replace the whole hand.
This is like the genie wish where you're asking for more wishes.
No, if I had to replace my hands with something else, I could not just replace my fingers. I would have to replace the whole hand.
Yeah.
So the palm would be the octopus head, and then all the little tentacles would be the fingers. Because
you'd have the added benefit of going camouflage.
They've got yes, didn't think of that, but they've got all the little suctions, so I could just like touch things and stick to them and climb walls.
Yeah.
I could climb walls.
My backup plan, and maybe in hindsight this should have been my plan A, is what's the thing that like the t-shirt gun at like a sporting event? What's it called? The bazooka? A cannon.
You want cannon hands?
No, I want a cannon that shoots cheese curds.
As hands?
Yeah.
Okay. My backup was gecko hands because, again, same concept, could climb walls, different type of clingy.
Yeah.
I think they've just got like...
You're just using things that are hand-like, though. You got to think outside the box. Like Edward Scissorhands.
Tentacles.
Yeah, they're just hands.
Think of what you could do with tentacle fingers.
With more fingers that are...
I could grasp everything. Do you ever go to pick up a handful of popcorn and it's like a claw game? You lift your hand out of the bowl of popcorn and no popcorn stays in your hand, and you're like, damn, that's not how hands are supposed to work.
Would it get old with the
tentacle
popcorn
fingers?
Tasting
it
like
would
octopus?
stick to every... No, it tastes like me. These are my octopus fingers. But you just slap the bowl of popcorn and pick it up, and it's...
You're just describing a hand with 3 more fingers.
No, with extra suction.
All right.
Yeah, you're missing the point. These hands can't climb walls. I mean, they can climb rock walls.
Even needs popcorn when you've got cheese curd cannons.
Imagine you came back from the bathroom and I'm just like halfway up the ceiling, like, you know, that'd be cool.
I do picture you hissing at most times. So
yeah,
it's consistent with what I think when you're not around.
That's my love language.
Yeah, sweet. That was good. Triple crown of the worst fashion trends. This is surprisingly mine.
I think I might have misinterpreted this, as hard as that is to believe based on how straightforward it is. I thought it was worst fashion trends that you've participated in. So mine is exclusively limited to 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, that's fine.
Did you go all time?
I think if we reference like fashion trends from the 1800s, it wouldn't really make sense because no one's alive and we don't know what the relative things were. But
yeah,
I think during our lifetime makes sense.
Okay. I've got a lot.
It would be silly to be like, yeah, can you believe in the 40s they were... I don't even know what they're doing in the 40s.
Yeah, something silly. This first one that I have on my list is an entire look. It's an entire vibe, and it was my staple outfit of choice in like late middle school, high school. Not the same outfit every time, but variations of. And I definitely think it is a fashion trend of that era, which is jean miniskirt,
okay, black
leggings under the jean miniskirt, calf-high Uggs, so the ones that go like mid-calf, long tank top, baby doll shirt, looks like a peplum shirt but isn't like stiff and structured. It's just like loose fabric, tight on the boobs, then just flowy, hides the tummy. Tiffany necklace. The one with the heart, the silver chain.
Is this
heart.
sorority girl?
No, this is high school, middle school.
Okay.
Thought hasn't even crossed my mind. Dooney and Burke purse. North Face jacket. That is the entire look.
Yeah.
Potentially scrunched hair. Or potentially scrunched hair, straightened bangs.
Do you have a photo of high school Chon?
I have deleted that entire phase of my life.
I guess I could just go through the photos that I posted from the Northville Placid Trail.
Yeah, but you won't find me in photo. I've got a scrapbook in my room that has some photos from that era.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like we had at least a couple of high school Chon's photos.
They were probably very curated.
They were I think they were like prom.
Incredibly curated, yeah.
All right.
So that's my first one, is that entire look.
Yeah, that is a vibe.
And I don't necessarily, it was a great time. I see that and I feel nostalgia. So there's worse.
Sure.
But that was a look that we went hard on.
Yeah. I'm realizing now most of mine are jean and or just pants related. But
you got Jenkos on there?
Jeff, definitely. Are you going to ruin it?
Yeah.
Are you going to force me to draft Jenkos first? I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
I'm going to go, my first pick is skinny jeans for guys specifically.
Oh.
Terrible. Like when the hipster fashion was in, and I was guilty of this one. I had
but why
skinny
was
jeans.
I attracted to every one of them?
Because it's fashion. It's what is hip at the time.
At the time, I was like, damn, yeah.
I remember every single time I was wearing tight pants, I remember thinking, like, I hate this. I don't know why I'm doing this. I feel like I'm trying to be cool right now, and I'm not cool. This is not comfortable. I hate sitting down. Sitting down is uncomfortable.
Do you have photos of you in skinny jeans?
I'm sure. Like, it wasn't that long ago, so it wasn't like you have to dig through the archives to find it.
Can you dig through the archives and find it?
I don't keep a folder of photos of myself.
Well, I would like to see one of those.
Yeah, skinny jeans, mostly just the fashion part aside, I think it looks stupid, but just functionally terrible, uncomfortable, sucks.
Yeah.
Next one. You're trying to force me to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
Don't do it. Don't let me get in your head.
I'm going to do a ladies fashion trend.
Sure, take mine.
You can tell me if this is current or just recent, but like baggy mom jeans on girls.
Yeah.
Sucks. That's not a good
trend.
Why?
You mad you can't see some ass?
Partially, it's not the most flattering look, but it's just like 0% of heterosexual guys are into that at all. And I know girls' fashion
We're not
is
doing
never.
it for you.
I know you're never doing it for guys. You're doing it for other girls. But just trying to think as like a objective observer of life like this. It's not a cool or flattering look. I don't know. It's something about it is.
It's a relaxed
off-putting.
Fit. The mom pant, the dad. Well, it's funny because there's.
But like I understand leggings. Leggings is kind of a more functional comfort.
You're going back to tight clothes.
But aren't those comfy at least?
Yeah, because they're not jeans.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if you're going for the comfortable aspect, I feel like that makes more sense than just like large flowing denim.
Well, didn't you just say all the things you just said about skinny jeans?
But denim
and how uncomfortable they were, and how you couldn't sit in them.
Denim is way less forgiving compared to like a stretchy leg. Because I wear women's leggings all the time. I love them, especially in the PCT. That is a very different beast than like tight, skinny jeans.
Yeah. I will say when I pair a loose fit jean with a loose fit top, I do look like a bag lady. But when I pair a tight top with a loose fit jean, I kind of look cool.
Okay.
At least in my own eyes.
Yeah.
I think there's balance in everything.
Yeah. I mean, I understand it's fashion. Everything's cyclical. Yeah. But it's just,
like today.
I'm looking forward to that one being done.
Yeah. You just want those tight pants back.
Bring it back.
I just want to see some ass. Okay, cool. My next one. I've got so many. Bowl cuts. Bowl cuts. And again, these are trends that I have participated in.
Yeah. I would love.
I've got one.
Yeah.
You want to see it?
Do it.
I've showed you this before, I think. This was like back like first, second grade. This was like when my parents didn't want to have to take care of girl hair, and they were just like, you're getting the haircut your brother's getting.
I'm not realizing I probably have a lot of these on my phone as well.
Yeah. Show me the skinny jeans. That one's pretty bullish.
I love especially how thick your hair is. Like it is.
It's really thick.
Yeah, I feel like if you took that off your head, you could eat cereal out of that bowl.
Yeah, that's a helmet is what that is. Here you go. Yeah, that's something.
Please send that to A-Dog so she can include that in
Happy
wherever
to.
relevant.
Only if you send something too.
I don't know if I.
How about that? I'll hold mine hostage.
It's going to take a lot of digging for me to find something incriminating. I mean, once I find something incriminating.
Because I'm Zach and I'm so perfect and I never do anything incriminating.
No,
I don't. It's so hard to find.
I just have a random camera roll of pictures of my kids. So to find something of me is very rare. And then let alone like something of me in the past is like, that's a.
You got to do what I do. I utilize the folders. So I've got a folder called old photos.
Yeah, I don't organize anything.
Yeah.
I don't got time for that.
All right, well, I sent it anyway. My gift to the listeners. A cringy carousel would do really well. But you'll never get the late middle school, early high school days.
The problem is Apple recognizes my face, so there's a folder of me, but it doesn't recognize young Zach. It doesn't lump those together.
Here's me in my bowl cut playing baseball. I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
That's before they kicked me off the boys' team.
You were on the boys' baseball team?
It was T-ball. They did co-ed for T-ball.
Yeah, right.
And then the girls had to go to softball. But my hands are so small, I couldn't hold the ball. Ball's so big. So I was like, can I just keep doing baseball where the ball is like a normal size?
Yeah.
They wouldn't let me do that. Okay, so that's that one. The next one, God, there's so many honorable mentions.
Wait, have you done 3?
No, the next one.
Oh, I thought you were going to your honorable mentions.
Pick the next one. This one is an amazing one. I would love this one to come back hard. And that is the velour tracksuits. Like with the juicy on the ass, matching color.
Sure. That was probably while you were a sorority girl, right?
Nope. Late middle school, high school. Yeah.
Why do I picture, like the pink on the ass?
Yeah. Pink was on the ass of all my yoga pants at the time.
Yeah.
The fold over top on the yoga pants. You got the yoga pants, and they didn't end like this top, where it's just like the top is the top.
Right.
The top went extra high, and then you folded it over, and then you got this fold over around your waist.
What
and then
year
you
range
had the pink
are we looking at here? Is this like late 2000s?
I graduated high school in 2010.
Okay.
So I entered high school in 2006. So we're looking at that 4-year block.
Yeah. All right.
But the matching tracksuits were middle school too, and like, did I get my parents to buy me Juicy Couture tracksuits with Juicy on the ass? Absolutely not. Would never have flown in my house. But if I came across them or like borrowed them from friends, all about them. All about them. Would love them to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So soft.
Didn't you also work at like Abercrombie?
Hollister? I was a door greeter at Hollister.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome to Hollister. Have you visited our cheeky cousin Gilly Hicks down the hall? I'll never forget that phrase.
So obviously, like, they were selling California prep, kind of. Is that still in vogue with the kids today? What are the kids doing?
As someone who's not a child, I don't know.
You're closer to childhood than I am.
When I was working at Hollister, the strict rules were that you obviously couldn't wear other logos. Your jeans couldn't have any stitching on the pockets, because you knew where your jeans came from based on the pocket. The jean that had the semi, like that kind of shape up and that kind of shape down that crossed, those were Abercrombie. The ones that had the 3 that went like that, that's Hollister. And then Aeropostale had similar to Abercrombie, but it was like a little swishy different. So you couldn't wear jeans with anything on the pocket because people would know if your jeans were from Hollister or not. You had to wear flip-flops or plain sneakers, but preferably flip-flops. You were not allowed to wear the color black. They didn't sell the color black because they didn't want to cater to emo kids or goths or anything like that. So there was absolutely no black allowed. It was a lot of interesting rules. So that was kind of like the vibe of the time. They always had Electric Feel, the song, playing on repeat.
Yeah. I feel like that was the song of the early 2000s, mid 2000s, late 2000s.
Every time I hear that song, I smell Hollister.
Oh wait, Electric Feel. I'm thinking of MGMT Kids.
Google your Electric Feel. You'll know exactly what it is. Also, when we eventually get to mailbag, I need to know why part of it's crossed out, and the part that's crossed out is that they'd send me chocolate. So we'll circle back to that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm box folding shirts when you play that song.
Literally, the next song on the album is.
Yeah. They're different flavors of the same song.
Yeah. Okay, you did 3. My last one. This is one I definitely fell victim to, which was amazing, given the context of the time and myself. Frosted Tips.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah. Not only Frosted Tips, but I did like the spiky hair. I went as far as to go to bleach my hair entirely.
You have to have a photo of that.
Not on my phone. I do have it. I'll make it a mission to
I
dig
have a
it
photo
up.
of me having bleached my hair entirely. I went full blonde, but I wasn't allowed. I grew up in a very strict household.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed. I mean, you've met my parents. I wasn't allowed to do anything.
Yeah.
And so I would do stuff in rebellion, but like it would be like a self-made thing. Like I pierced my nose with a sewing needle. I bleached my hair with like whatever they could sell me at Sally's. You know, like had I gone to an actual place, it would have looked good. It looked like fucking hay.
Yeah.
And then all my hair fell out. But I have photos.
Yeah. When Eminem became popular, there was a lot of hair dyeing at my school.
Yeah.
And I was still fat at that point, so like fat, spiky, pale Zach.
Oh my God, we need this photo.
Terrifying. I remember my mom was upset. Like I grew up with less rules, as you probably gathered, but when she saw me after I dyed my hair, my sister actually did it for me. She just like, she went pale in the face, and I said, "Do you love me less right now?" And she goes, "Yes."
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll dig that up. Honorable mentions? I've got so many.
Jinko jeans.
Aggressive side bangs.
Side bangs.
Aggressive side bangs,
Yeah.
like a hard part.
I never did this one, but I always questioned it. And maybe it's still hip, I don't even know. Is keeping the sticker on the brim of a hat.
Oh.
It was always silly to me.
Yeah, I wasn't a hat person until recently. Etnies. Those skater shoes, they're like sneakers. They're like Vans, but girls would wear them. They've got a sideways E. It looked like an M.
Yeah. I should not be a person to be judging fashion in any sense. I should have led with that. Like whatever people with the baggy jeans, cool. If you like that, that's great. And I'm sure my tastes are terrible, but yeah.
Aeropostale, monkey, and limited to puppy.
I literally never knew how to pronounce that word. So.
Aeropostale?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's how.
Okay.
But they had like monkeys all over their stuff for a time, and Limited 2 had these cute little puppies. And so all of my shirts consisted of like a cute monkey or a cute puppy, or like sometimes Aeropostale would put in like a little penguin. So cute animals all over my shirts.
Yeah. I feel like when Eminem and especially Kid Rock were popping, I feel like I saw a lot more. I don't know if you can use this term anymore, but wife beaters. I don't
know if you can.
I don't even know what the other.
I don't know what you would call it.
A white cheap tank top.
Cheap tank top that comes in like an 8-pack. Hanes.
You can't say wife beater anymore?
I'm sure.
I'm sure someone will email and let me know what the correct term for that is. I literally don't even know how to refer to it otherwise.
Well, leggings with the heel straps. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Leggings with the heel straps.
This is an early scarring memory for me. I used to have
like a legging that goes down and wraps around the.
Yeah. So picture a tight legging where it doesn't flare at the bottom. It's tight to the ankle, but instead of just letting things be done there's a strap of fabric.
Like a stirrup.
Like a stirrup that you put around your heel so that when you put your shoes on, the leggings don't ride up. And
that sounds kind of nice, actually.
Nothing in life did I hate more.
Is it because it's too much fabric?
I don't know. Something about feeling it on the bottom of my foot I hated. And I have a memory. I don't know how young I was. It was young enough that someone else was dressing me.
Yeah.
I have a memory of being dressed and having these leggings put on me. And it was time to put the heel strap on, and I was just fucking kicking. Because I was like, anything to keep this heel strap from going over my heel. I do not like how this feels. I want it to stop. Those leggings will leave scars in my mind.
I feel like you're not too far away from a onesie at that point.
Why do we need to hook it onto my heel?
Yeah.
Just let it stop at my ankle. So that one was a big one. Zebra print. Zebra print was around. Going into college, cheetah print was around. Like it was a big. Animal prints are back. Looking back in photos,
I always thought that cheetah print was like more of a kinky context. Like people are wearing that casually.
Casually, yeah. When all the animal prints were around, that was just like the thing. It was like tribal prints too. But now cheetah print's kind of coming back. I'm seeing a lot more cheetah print, like jeans and skirts. But zebra print, when the animal prints and tribal prints were a thing, was something that in photos just, I don't know how I thought it looked good. The underneath layer of your hair being blonde, but the top layer of your hair not being blonde or any other color. You ever see that trend?
No. So
like the bottom of your hair, like the bottom inch you could see was a different color, but you didn't just dye the bottom inch of your hair. You dyed the underneath layer, and then you layered it so that the top layers were shorter.
So sort of like wearing a long sleeve shirt under a t-shirt
Yes.
of hair.
And then worse than that, and I never did this one, was skunking your hair. That was when you did highlights in your hair, but instead of doing it in like a cute, nice way, you just bleached strips throughout your dark hair.
I'm picturing like Cruella de Vil.
Picture like the stripe on the skunk.
Yeah.
That's throughout your hair, but not just one, like all over.
Right.
That was skunking your hair.
Right. What era was this?
High school. Peacoats.
Yeah,
the going out jacket
Sure.
of college was a peacoat.
Yep.
Those are the good ones. And I've got so many. Those are the good ones. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, mailbag.
Yeah, why is the top part of this where they say they'll send me chocolate crossed out? That's what I want to know. Who did that?
Are we on the same page? What are you looking at?
Are you trying to keep me from chocolate?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to read it anyway. Hey, Zach and Chance. Here's a copy of my review. I wrote it a while ago and keep listening each week. I'm working on prepping for JMT 2025. May I get a sticker, please? I'll even send Juliana chocolate. That was very kind. That was also crossed out. Here's the real review. Curious on something with social media. When a hiker posts on social media what appears to be a poor practice with LNT or other hiking, while we don't want to troll, what is a good way to nudge them that what they may be doing is a bad example? Example, setting up camp within a few feet of a lake or river. No one wants to troll, but what are your thoughts on saying something in a message? Thanks again for the laughs, Randy.
It's a really good question.
I would go with a DM.
Public shaming is,
Yeah, I think you're losing your receptive audience if you do it in a comment, because then you're putting the person on the defensive. And I think if your goal is to have them be receptive, then it's not just about telling them that they're like dumb. It's about telling them that they're doing something wrong in a way that they're receptive to.
Counterpoint is not part of the comment also to express it to a more public set of eyes.
I could see that, yes, but then you're not, then your goal isn't to let them know, it's to let everyone know.
Counterpoint, would it not be more effective if 10 people saw your comment for the person that you're commenting on their post, if they disregard it because they think you're being an asshole, but the people who read the comments are positively impacted by the comment? Would that not be like the old train philosophical debate? Like,
yeah, but is anyone positively impacted by things in comments, or are they just there to feed? You know?
It's a fair question. I think in the context of somebody who's a novice backpacker outdoors person, if they saw a comment being like, actually this thing that we see all over the place is not within Leave No Traces principles, maybe they'd be like, oh, I learned something.
A comment is a quick way of doing it. I'm thinking that this guy wants to let a specific person know that something that they did is not LNT. And if that's the case, I'm just thinking, like, if it were me and I posted a photo and someone commented something, like, I'm used to getting shitty comments on certain things. I kind of tune them out and then I just go through and delete them. So I might just not be receptive in an atmosphere where I'm looking at my comments. But if someone were to DM me and be like, hey, you know, and like, they don't need to say all of this, but to put me on a place where I'm not getting defensive, to be like, hey, like, love following the hike you're doing. I noticed in the photo you just posted that you seem really close to a river. I'm sure you know LNT and that, like, you shouldn't camp within this amount of space. Like, is that just the perspective of the photo, or am I missing something here? Or are you camping that close to the river? And if they respond to you and they're like, oh, it's actually just the perspective, there's a cliff there, and then it goes, you know, like, maybe leave room for you to be maybe wrong. But maybe they respond and they're like, haha, yeah, like, that's the only spot that was free. Then maybe it leaves an avenue for, yeah, I don't know if posting that on social media is the best thing. It kind of promotes doing the wrong thing to an audience of people, and I don't know if that's your intention. That doesn't really seem like your intention with the rest of your posts. Now you're having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they say, oh, yeah, I totally see where you're coming from, and they take down that post. Or maybe they just leave you on red and ignore you, in which case, then I would say you maybe have opened the door to commenting on the post and being like, hey, just so everyone knows, like, you, like, technically with LNT, you shouldn't camp within X amount of feet of water. this is just a photo, so maybe like maybe there's something we're not seeing here, but if you're looking at this picture, like please keep that in mind, because you're no longer talking to the person who posted it, you're talking to the people who are looking at it.
Yeah.
But I think the most receptive place you'll get from the poster is in their DMs.
Yeah. I think for me it goes back to like, do you want to reach the person who's posting it, or do you want to get the message across to more people? And I guess it depends specifically on the context of like, right. Is this an influencer type, or is this your friend, or is
he's saying what's a good way to nudge them that what they may be doing is a bad example, not to tell everyone else that what they're doing.
Yeah, but I think the more important question is like, as a community and culture, like how do we curtail these things?
What would you do?
This is like me trying to correct Leo. I go with him because the twins are too young to know that they're starting fires, without being the bad guy. So like normalizing what he's doing, like being like, I know that you're excited right now. I know that you saw your brother do X, Y, or Z, but just so you know, we don't do this. Like obviously it doesn't directly translate because you can't talk to an adult that way, but like trying to get the message across with understanding their perspective, but also directing it to the more correct path. So,
but if you had to do that, would you do that to Leo in front of like his entire preschool class, or would you pull him to the hallway and then do that?
In that particular scenario, I'd pull him aside.
But that's the DMs.
Yeah, but again, like, am I trying to reach one person, or am I trying to reach 1,000 people?
I mean, if you're trying to reach 1,000 people, then just make your own page and start promoting like LNT hard and pushing it. And,
that's assuming that people are looking at that page.
Yeah.
I think in the context of like commenting, again, it depends on the exact circumstance here, but like if somebody's camped right next to a lake, you could be like, hey, I know like we see photos like this all the time, and like it's easy to normalize this, but actually the leave no trace principle is this, like I've made this mistake myself, and I recently learned that X, Y, and Z, and like trying to get it into a more public forum so you can have that conversation.
I guess it depends on who you're commenting it towards, because in my perspective, I would think that if it's someone who's doing a long trail, like none of us are so big that we don't see our DMs, right? That's just the perspective I'm looking at it from. But like if it's fucking Kim K or someone, like she's not checking her DMs. So then it'd be like, okay, the only way this can get seen is on the comments. But I would think if it's someone like hiking the AT or it's someone small enough where they're reading their DMs and you're giving them opportunity to take down the post, versus someone who's so huge that your DM would never get seen, the post is never getting taken down.
I think you eliminate the educational moment when someone just removes a post like that. Like, I think the tone matters a lot with how it's delivered.
Yeah.
And if somebody commented on my thing and they seemed like they were having a friendly, not condescending tone about something, I would be receptive to it. Like kind of the way that in the previous mailbag someone was talking about like proper dog etiquette. I don't take offense to when somebody points out when we're doing something incorrectly, and I wouldn't be that way necessarily on social media either.
True.
It depends on the way that it's presented, though.
True. It does depend on the way it's presented, because like if someone commented that on my thing, my first reaction would be, oh shit, I did something wrong, I should take this post down, and when the post comes down, the post goes down.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where I'm thinking of it from, is like if I see that I'm doing something wrong and I'm like, I actually don't want to promote this, I should take this down, then does it matter if it happened in my DMs or in the comments if my response is, oh, I should take that down and not have that be something that I'm actively promoting?
Yeah. I mean, most people probably would take it down to preserve their own ego, and like that's, I think, how a normal person would behave. But it could also go about like updating the description, being like, it was recently brought to my attention. This is a stupid conversation at this point.
This is so dumb.
But to answer the question, if I was trying to make a point in education, I think I would just try to not be a dick. And
I think trying not to be a dick is a big part of it.
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Because usually in the comments, that's not a part of it.
No, everyone
usually in the comments, it's like, hey, bozo,
I know better
back.
Than you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest takeaway. Whether you want to do it privately or publicly, is just like let it be known that, normalize the mistake. And
don't assume malice. Assume as obvious as some things are to us, assume that maybe it's not obvious to everyone. Because, like, we all know LNT, right? Like, that's obvious to us. But new people to the outdoors might not.
Yeah.
Like, there's a spot at the start of the PCT, and I don't know if it's still there or not, but I came from summer camps. And in summer camps, you sign the cabins. Like, that's just what you do. And then at the start of the PCT, there was like a log or a rock or something that everyone had signed. And me coming straight from summer camps, I'm like, oh, we signed the rock. And so I signed the rock. And for a couple of years after the PCT, every season I'd get a message from someone with a photo of it and be like, I can't believe you signed this, this thing. I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you did this. And I'd respond and be like, hey, like, I agree. Like, do I love that that's out there? No. But what I knew of the outdoors was summer camp. And what I knew of summer camp was everyone signs this thing, and it's like a little yearbook. And then you go and you do these hikes, and you're like, oh, shit, that's actually not how you behave out here. And you learn, and then you make amends, and you don't do that again. And it would be so easy for someone to be like, hey, you fucking idiot. Like, 8-year host of Backpacker Radio tag shit and is a fucking dumbass, you know? And it's like, well, you don't leave room for the fact that, like, at the time I had no experience in this world and did not know how to behave, and I thought that that was normal, and then I learned it wasn't, and I'm ashamed. Yeah. You know, and I would like to assume that if people, at least on long trails, do something that's not LNT, that it's not maliciously against LNT, because I feel like people who do long hikes are better than that.
Totally. And, yeah, in general, people on the internet are always looking for an opportunity to, like, dunk on somebody.
Yeah.
And that is not a way to get your message across. So
thanks, Randy.
Yeah, Randy, don't dunk on someone. 5-star review. This is from Spencer Hiltbrand. Connection to the outdoors away from home. I'm attending grad school in a state, Texas, that has much less, aka different outdoor access than my home state of California. This podcast fills some of my need to be outdoors. It's entertaining, super informative, and is helping me look forward to my life continuing to be increasingly outdoors after grad school. Y'all rock. No, Spencer, you rock, sir.
You're great.
Yeah. Thank you for the kind words. If you guys want to hear your review left on this podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us any number of stars.
Just not 1, 2, 3, or 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you want a Backpacker Radio sticker, screenshot your review, send us an email at podcast@thetrek.co, and A-Dog will send you a sticker.
And if you want a size 6...
Oh, yeah.
If you want a size 6 pair of Topos, this episode's sponsored by Topos.
Ladies Topos. Or
ladies Topos. 6. If you want a size 6 pair of Topos that I have slid my feet in and out of, not hiked in, just slid my feet in and out of. It's got a little taste of Sean's toes in there. Be the first person to email us at podcast@thetrek.co, and they're yours.
Also, no guarantee that they'll still be available, because I did offer them to Trek bloggers.
If they're here, they're here. If they're not, they're not. Yeah. But, like, if you're a size 6 and you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, those sound like cool shoes, I would like to try them, shoot us an email. If you're the first one and we still have them, we'll give them to you.
And if you're just a weird guy trying to get some memorabilia that has touched Sean's foot, the answer's
no.
No.
Better hope you're the first person to email.
Thank you to today's title sponsor, Topo Athletic. Sean slides her feet in and out of them all the time.
I love sliding my feet in and out of them.
Yeah. I don't know if there's much more to say other than today's guest, who doesn't even wear them, had a strong endorsement saying that a fella that he had hiked with got 900 miles out of a pair. Like I said, that's congruent with our gear testers who said they've gotten 1,000 miles out of a pair, which is basically seems like science fiction compared to some of the other popular trail runners out in the market right now. You're looking at closer to 500 miles, sometimes 300, sometimes less. So it ends up saving a good chunk of change. They're comfortable. Many of the models are 0 or low drop. Excellent tread. They're just fucking awesome shoes.
Yeah, and I will say I did not slide my toes in and out just because I didn't like them. I slid them in and out because I realized that they were slightly too small for my feet, so I got a 6.5. So.
And if you want to get your pair of Topos at a 15% discount, use our code TREKWINTER15, the number 15, at topoathletic.com. Thank you to them for sponsoring the podcast. Thank you to our Chuck Norris Award winners on Patreon. That is Alex and Misty with Navigators Crafting, Alex Kindle, Andrew, Austin McDaniel, Brad and Blair from 13 Adventures, Brent Stenberg, Brian Alsop,
Babos,
Christopher Marshburn, Coach from Marion Outdoors, Derek Cook, Eric Casper,
The Friendly Ghost,
Eric Hoffman, Ethan Harwell. Jesus, it's going to bother me.
You gotta think of something.
Well, Well done. That was what it was.
That was what it was. I mean, it wasn't great, but
It's
that's
not
what
great,
it was.
but it's something.
I think you got better.
Ethan Harwell done. Jillian Daniels, Greg Knight, Greg McDaniel, Greg Martin, Greg McDaniel. Skipped one. Griffin, hey, would you bring me a beer? Haley Buckingham.
Dallas.
Madame. Patrick Ciancialo, Rebecca Brave, Sawyer Products, Spam, Timothy Hahn.
Hello.
And Tracy Trigger.
I like you've got a change of volume in there for something.
You can't say Mud Tom without saying it. Mud Tom.
Someone DM'd me the other day. They're like, what do you growl at the end of that? And I was like, it's actually her last name. Fawns. When you do it, it's kind of scary. It makes me feel weird inside.
Thank you to our guy, Paulie Boy Shawcross. Get some delicious beans at ommcr.com. You can follow us on social at Backpacker Radio on Instagram and TikTok at Backpacker Pod on X, Facebook.com/Backpacker Radio. You can follow the Chauncey. You can find me on YouTube at Juliana Chauncey. If you're not doing anything and you've got a browser open, if you just want to press play on one of my videos and let it run, that'd be great. Just trying to get back to monetization status because I took a hiatus from posting anything, but now I'm back. What are the requirements? I need 4,000 viewing hours over the course of a year, and thank you online bullies and past guests who overlap in that category. I took some time off because it was just not fun, and now I find the joy in it again, and I'm back on, and I'm it is nice when it does fund my resupplies. It's 3,000 hours of public watch, so public watch hours, 3,000 in the last 365 days. Mine's at 2,211 just because I stopped posting for a long time. But my Foothills Trail videos and my Ozark Highlands Trail videos and my Teton Crest Trail videos are all up or in the process of going up. And I'm having fun with it again, which is really nice. That's why I stopped, is because if it's not fun, why do it? So that'll be my plug of the day, is if you want to just go there and press play and leave it open in a browser and turn your volume off and just let it run, I'd appreciate that. It only takes a few of you. Someone's going to search that little footnote that you threw in there. What footnote? Oh, yeah, if you figure it out, you figure it out. I'm not embarrassed for someone else being mean to me. There you go. Appalachian Trials and Pacific Crest Trials are my books. A review would be pretty sweet. Subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on YouTube. Hi, Internet. That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening, and happy hiking. Bye.